virtually every one of the top 40 records being played on every radio station in the United States is a communication to the children to take a trip, to cop out, to groove. The psychedelic jackets on the record albums have their own hidden symbols and messages as well as
special question. We don't want you to smoke genetically modified ganja. We want you to smoke the real thing. We want you to smoke the natural herb. Some call it marijuana, some call it sensimilla, some call it lamb's bread, and some people call it ganja.
Welcome to another edition of the Adam Dunn Show. I am your host, Adam Dunn, and I am in studio with a whole bunch of invisible people right now. It's awesome. But we do have somebody coming in. We have Luke. Was it Luke? Oh, no. Kelly from Left Hand Hemp. What is it called? Come on, give me names.
Left Hand Hemp.
Left Hand Hemp. There we go. Hempcrete is what we're going to be talking about with Kelly, and it's one of those subjects which a lot of people get their ears perk up when they hear it because they're like, "Hey, wait a minute. I know what concrete is, and I know what hemp is, but it doesn't really make sense together." So we're going to talk about the implications of how this stuff can just revolutionize building here in America and worldwide. We're also going to have, KTI possibly in the studio if his car ever gets fixed. We'll see. Who knows? We also have Paul coming in, our reggae from the reggae crew, to talk about his Sundays here and just chop up a little bit. And it was a week of another trade show here. There was the Seed to Sale NCIA thing, which I did not even waste my time going down to because everybody that I talked to is like, don't waste your time. $800 to walk the floor there, dude. I was like, are you out of your minds, God? What is going on? So it was all noobs, super noob city was what it was. It was noobs training noobs how to be noobs. So didn't miss much there, but nice to see a few people. I saw David Tran from Dope Magazine here in town. Nice. We were supposed to do a party, but he couldn't get his shit together. So he ended up driving around on a looper bus all day. So
fun.
I was like, dude, you could have brought all those 50 people over to here and we could have raged. Bro.
I haven't been on one of those yet. Have you been on the looper bus yet?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's, it's crazy because it's like the fact that that's legal but that's it. Like, that's the only thing. And it costs over $100,000 to build that. So for him to build $120,000, RV, basically, well, not even RV, it's actually a real proper fucking bus. And what's cool about the looper bus is he actually got permission from the city to stop at any bus stop he's allowed and pick people up.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, that's pretty dope, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it just opens the door to like reality that he can just like pull up. So you could tell him, hey, I'm at this bus stop at so-and-so, and he won't get in trouble. So I think that was huge. That would to me was a big accomplishment, but it just blew my mind that that's the considered. And he has like his bud tender, which is his bus tender. So tender, ooh, upgrade, right?
Yeah.
But it's like working on a boat or something because you're just constantly in flux and you're trying to do that. Can never get a good dab on a bus when you're driving around.
I was about to say that.
It's always like one of these things too, where you're like about to hit it and then you hit the butt. Oh man, it's very hard. So, but it's cool. It's a very dope interior on that thing. It's like he went all out.
Nice.
He went all out. And how was your week, Mr. MTI?
It was good, man.
Did you do some of your other podcasts that are more fun than mine?
Oh, yeah. The ones I don't fall asleep at. Just kidding. No, just messing. I do the Brothers Brer podcast every week. brothersbrer.com. We just talk crap, and it's kind of funny.
I actually, I do listen to them sometimes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're terrible.
Nah, I wouldn't say. It's always fun to watch other podcasts because
right.
I realize, some of them I feel like, I could jump in on this discussion in a heartbeat and make sense. And there's other ones where I'm like, wow, these people are on their own entirely different tip in this world. So it's there's room for everybody
right.
in this industry.
Absolutely.
But in general, it's whenever I watch, you guys are pretty much like just doing what we all do, shoot the shit,
Yep.
and make something out of it.
For sure.
How many listeners you got on those?
Not a lot.
Well, come on.
I think we have like 58 subscribers, and then like we probably have
Some randos throw in there.
like 2 to 10 maybe live streaming that listen to it. So
Hey, that's good enough.
Yeah.
That's a start. We're not, Gabby. Look at our numbers. We're not crazy.
Oh no, this is good.
Yeah.
I always feel good when I leave here because I'm like, oh man,
No, yeah.
there's a bunch of people listening to this thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, because we do this all for Spring Hill Jack. You know that. That's pretty much the whole reason. This whole thing is based on the fact that once John Doe Radio. Oh, that's who's going. Tim Martin might be dropping in.
Oh, cool.
So just to beat him up a little bit, but he actually posted a very cool post. Did you see that post he did about the CDOT? So he was driving down.
Oh yeah.
And he saw the 47 deaths from cannabis this year on the road. Right. That's the sign they have basically.
Right.
And you're like, what? Wait a minute. Prove that, first of all. You know what I mean? And the fact that that's like now they're like considering traffic deaths when somebody has cannabis in their system. That's like, okay, so a month, 2 weeks ago, they smoked a joint. They got no car accident. Got sideswiped by some asshole, kills them. Now that's a cannabis death. You know what I mean? It's like that guy was drunk who crashed into him probably, So it's like, no. So he called. I mean, he'll tell this. I won't take all his glory, but he literally called and they basically told him a bunch of crap. So I told him if he wants to come here and vent, do it.
Absolutely.
So he'll be here a little bit later in the show.
Cool. No, yeah, I saw that. I thought that sign was ridiculous. There's a lot of backlash. I saw a lot of people talking about it because that's just kind of stupid.
Well, it's just perpetuating myths that are, literally that. They're myths, and they've been debunked on multiple occasions. It's like when they have the breathalyzer now in California. It's like that's going to cause a lot of bullshit too, because at the end of the day, I have a feeling it can't tell you how high you are. All it can tell you is
I don't think there's anything that's going to be
if
like
you
that.
got it, if you maybe by percentages, like in your saliva at that moment, it could maybe say, well, yeah, you definitely smoked within the last 5 or 6 hours. But you can't.
Oh, damn.
Oh, what are you doing? What's going down? Because he's got the mic now, dude. He's got a mic in his hand. He's don't worry.
Oh, yeah, we're good.
He's getting ready for his solo. Anyway, I don't even know what I was talking about.
No, he was just telling me to go sit down, but I was,
not you.
Yeah, I was like,
you.
yeah, I don't want to sit down.
No, he's too casual. He's got to work. He's working.
Yeah, I'm working.
And no, we have no KTI to talk to, but we do have Josh, who was sick last week. So we had different cameras. Actually, we didn't even set your cameras up this week, huh? You came down here for nothing.
No, we got one over there. We don't have the one we usually use.
Oh, you upgraded. Complete upgrade. Complete and double upgrade.
Yeah.
Good job.
People notice how black your beard is with the new camera. Yeah.
Well, they can't see the grays from so far away.
Yeah.
Black beard. That's because I blend into the Sohais.
Right. Yeah.
I could just morph into a sign or this way.
It's like black and true black.
Look, I'm disappearing.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so Josh, you were sick, huh? You got the flu. Did you get the flu?
Yeah.
Oh my God, are you here? What are you doing in here? People are dying. Like just
I know, dude. It's crazy.
Go have a seat.
have a seat, bro. Listen to yourself.
All
Listen
right,
to
all
your
right.
own. Listen to your own thing.
Why not?
So did you get hit hard? Because that's the thing. Like this is the first year I've ever been. I wouldn't say scared, but because I have almost a 6-year-old, but he's in school. So every day when he comes home from school, I'm like, "Are any kids sick in your class? Anybody?" And he's like, "No." I'm like, "Okay," because I'm just waiting for like the wipeout.
Man, I got pretty ill, and I hear that it was like really brutal nationwide, like which is pretty crazy.
I think
like
somewhere
kids
down
and
south, like
everything.
I don't know if it was Georgia or one of those states had like 24 deaths. I was like, what? That's a lot.
That's insane.
And it was like, a couple of young kids and a lot of old people, really, is what it came down to.
Yeah.
So that's where I got scared. I'm like, oh shit, I got a fucking prime target right there. And we actually, he didn't go to school today because he had a cough, and I was kind of like, all right, not letting you get down that rabbit hole. So it's like, he's got no fever right now. You got a cough. It's half a day anyway. You're staying home.
Yeah, might as well.
Any way to keep them from getting contaminated.
Yeah, protect those kids.
Because, it's brutal this year. Like you were saying, it was like fucking, I've never heard of such a...
I had no idea, and I was suffering. And then I told a couple of people, and they were relating all these stories about how these kids, like, you can't take them into the hospital unless they're, like, about to die or something, basically, and pretty rough.
Well, you made it.
But
You survived.
Yeah, I'm alive.
How
Things
much?
are good.
You still on antibiotics or what?
No.
Did you do any of that kind of crap?
Well, I just got off of antibiotics for the surgery thing.
Oh yeah, you're
It's
fucked.
been a rough couple of months.
You're just a big. You're just yeah. Well, that's the thing that you probably because didn't have much resistance because of that.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking too.
I'm a complete antibiotic guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally don't like it. I'm like,
I'm with
it's
you.
weird because it just subliminally for years, I never did it. Like, I was like, oh, yeah, I've got to do these. Fuck that. I ain't doing that. And I just, like, would fight off shit for years. And I think it's good. I think it's for the better because it's one of those, as long as you can keep your fucking resistance up and you actually have an immune system, then you're good. But the minute you give it all wimpy, antibiotic, you just fuck yourself.
You can't ignore antibiotics.
You
whenever
fuck your
you're going through
biome up,
surgeries
and
or
then
something.
you're,
No,
and
that's
then
for sure.
well, you have no homeostasis at that point. You're out of balance.
And you lose all your gut bacteria.
That's what it's all about,
lose
bro.
all
It's
that
about your gut bacteria, and
Indeed.
it's kind of interesting because it's like it all crosses over into plant world also, where once you understand that. That's how everything works. It's all microbial, because it's like internal microbes.
I can see that.
And then like the plants are basically just like external stomachs. Like they don't have a stomach, so their external stomach is the microbes, which are breaking it all down.
Yeah, their roots
and then
digging in the stomach there.
I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago too, where it's like the weird thing is that how those ants get parasites that can control their brains. You know those things.
Like zombie ants.
Yeah, you know that story, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so
definitely.
sort of, we're like zombie people with these microbes that control a lot of stuff. Like they actually, because of the whole, your two brains, right? Your gut brain and your brain.
Yeah.
But your gut brain is actually, I mean, not that it's controlling all your functions, but it's kind of controlling the thing controlling the functions. You know what I mean?
It is.
So if it's weird because when you think about that, you're like, okay, so these little fucking bacterias that are fucking cruising around, just like, they're like, we need salt. And all of a sudden you're like, I need salt.
Yeah.
And then you feed them salt,
That's how it works.
So, and that's what you need to tap in as a grower, is you need to kind of get in on that communication. And that's where a lot of people, that's when people, they find out that they're good growers because all of a sudden they're like, oh, the plant needed that. So it kind of told me, you know what I mean? And, but a lot of people don't know the language. It's like, oh, well, there is a language there. It's subtle, but it's there. And it's literally, it's being like, so from the grower's point of view, it's having the ability to pick it up. And from the plant's point of view, it's, when it's in its natural setting, like organically, it's really easy to learn. Not easy, but it's direct. When it's synthetics and hydro, it's really based on kind of whatever formula you're using. And then they can give you signals, but it's a muted signal because of the fact that it's not doing it naturally. It's actually the expressions are forced.
See, this is something that's pretty interesting to me too, And from what I've seen,
Kelly has entered the building.
Oh, cool. There we go.
We're concreted up.
From what I've seen,
Tell him whenever he feels it.
you add
We got water for him too. Yeah.
You add some sort of agent, and then you feed the sugars or microbes to that agent in order to. I don't know about this process so much. So
Exactly that. Like it's the same as like say a good example is earthworms, right? So earthworms are going to produce, castings, right? So that's going to feed the plants, right? So you feed the worms what you want to feed the plants so that they produce more phosphorus-based or more nitrogen-based, or that's one way to look at it. So you're kind of like the same with your gut bacteria. So you're feeding it the right stuff. When you go on antibiotics, you kill off everything, and so you have to start all fresh again. And during that period is when it's hit and miss too. Like not everything works. So you'll take in, be eating a yogurt and you'll be trying all these different probiotics.
Yeah, exactly.
And some stuff will, just like with, so in plants, it's mycorrhizals and stuff at the rootlet zone. So we'll put those in and then they attach themselves to the roots and then they signal back and forth. So one is telling the other like, hey, I need more of this. So they produce more. And it's just crazy because it's like, it's so finite. Everything is, amazingly so interactive, and when you cut off that by doing everything synthetically, then you kind of like it's up to you at that point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
welcome to the studio. Such a on the fly, right? We're like boom, show. You're like,
That's
what,
right.
when, what month? You're like,
Time to join
now,
How's it going?
now.
Hey, that's how I got here.
Excellent.
So welcome, Kelly from Left Hand Hemp.
Thank you.
Where were you coming from? You're at DIA, I heard. So is that dropping people off or picking people up or
actually,
yourself? Or?
So we got lucky enough to get mentioned, I guess, in the New York Times last week. I don't know
Awesome.
how.
That's how. It's why we have you here, dude.
We were
of
in
course,
there?
you know that we knew that.
Right on. Anyway, so I get a call from a podcaster from New York who was going to be out here Wednesday through Friday, and I just got back in town yesterday. I was supposed to meet with him yesterday, and then that didn't work out. So he was on his way out, and he's like, "Come to the airport, and I'll do a podcast from there."
Oh, cool. So this is like you're like one of those celebrity podcast guys that today who is just like, I got to go to another podcast.
I guess.
To the
sure.
next.
Podcast to be at. Sorry, gentlemen.
Well, that's cool. So, what was the mention in the New York Times about? Obviously about Hempcrete, I would assume.
Right.
but-
So the whole article was about hempcrete and the United States being a little bit behind and how great hemp is for a construction material. So I was just reading it. I saw it posted on Facebook, and I was like, "Left Hand Hemp," and I was like, "What?"
Right.
So,
That's awesome. And was they mentioning you or quoting you, or what were they doing? Is it?
They were just mentioning us and having finished the first permitted building in Denver built
Yeah.
out of hempcrete. They
Oh,
were
yeah.
kind of focused on that.
Of course. And so where's that building? What's the deal with that whole?
That
project?
building is over near Stapleton.
Uh-huh.
And basically, it was we were at NOCO last year, and a gentleman approached us about building his dream workshop that he'd had in his head for 10 years. And once he discovered hempcrete, he's like, "That's the way I knew I wanted to go." So we worked with him from April until October when we actually raised the building, and then did the hempcrete workshop there.
That's awesome.
Very
And so it's a finished project already, or?
Yeah, it's done.
Awesome.
The hempcrete's done. That's all
Yeah.
I guarantee
Yeah,
when I bring the workshop. So I don't know if I don't think he's got the plaster on yet, but
Gotcha.
it's in the works.
Awesome. So is there like a grand opening sort of schedule for that one, or
I don't think so.
no? No.
It was kind of like, hey, and then it went away.
You think
So-
so? Once it's done, you don't think they're going to have a big? They should promote that hard because
Sure.
it's going to be one of the. I mean, and the cool part about hempcrete, in my opinion, is, and it's weird because like, I think it was in 1995 we kind of like we did a hempcrete project in Amsterdam at our place. So we had a new shop, big empty space, and we're like, okay, we're going to get those French guys up here, and we're going to make some hempcrete walls and kind of like have so we can point at it when we're trying to sell people. Hey, look, hempcrete, And it was interesting because when we did it, those original French guys that were doing it had like a really dense formula. Like it was so dense that it took so much product to do just we did a little test wall, like about 2.5 feet or something like that. And we were like calculating like, oh my God, we're going to need so much to do this. So we kind of toned it down because it was interior and it wasn't necessarily, no weight was going to be on it or anything. Kind of fluffed it up a bit, added a lot more hemp herds. We were like, we got to thin this stuff down, make it. But it was still, we were there for 93 to 2010, or 95 to 2010, so we were like 23 years. And you could just see how the walls literally, I mean, they were in perfect condition, but also even the exposed parts that we left, because some of it we painted, but the part that we left unexposed had already hardened. We were over the 20-year mark, and the stuff was just starting to harden up, and it wasn't outside where it's going to get a lot more, CO2 sequestering or whatever. But you could see that the process was starting. I was like, oh, this is awesome, because, and I was waiting for hempcrete to catch on because of the fact that it blew my mind in the beginning, and then it also is such a applicable thing, especially in Colorado where they have all these fires. It should almost be mandatory that you build your house out of hempcrete if you live in a fire zone, just so you know that you could always come back and just add put a new roof on it and be back in action
Right,
instead of
right.
like starting from scratch every time.
So two things about that. One, I had given the homeowner the fire resistivity ratings from some tests in Canada. And I wasn't there for the communication between him and the code department, but they didn't accept them. They just said
Yeah.
move the building away from a small wood fence. Like the wood fence is the biggest part of their worries. But
Right.
So we just moved it. I mean, that's how we got around code for Denver. But the fire resistivity,
They didn't believe it, or they just didn't.
it's like one of those things where, well,
It's not like it wouldn't
it's not
pass.
UL listed, so they
Yeah.
haven't done the research or anything like that. But
Well, that's
I
the
would think,
biggest problem right now is that everything's not. They can't understand how you can bring it in without it being like. It's almost like with with our clothing, everybody's like, once we got into like waterproofing of any kind, it started to become like, oh, well, what's your code? What's your level? You know, we're like, I don't know, dude. It's fucking waterproof, bro. Look, water beads off. You know what I mean? And they're like, oh, but we need to know. And so you kind of step into their world, and everything is based on their numbers. And hemp kind of blows those numbers out of the water a little bit.
Right.
I think where you're like, what do you mean it doesn't burn? Like this rating. We don't even have a rating for this because, I mean, theoretically, you can burn it for. I mean, with a torch. I mean, was it? I forgot who did it with like the torch, but they had it going for like an hour. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's an author named Chris Magwood who was into straw bale, and he's written a couple books, I think, on hempcrete, and he was talking about you can see fire tests on YouTube all day, but if you look at the ASTM test that Canada did, they exposed it to 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit, a whole wall. Supposedly it was cool to the touch in the back. And then they put like 30,000 pounds of downward force on it, and it took 76 minutes before it failed. So you have 76 minutes to get out of your house. And then since hemp doesn't really combust, there's no black smoke, and that's, of course, what kills everybody in a fire.
Those are big numbers. Yeah.
So I don't see how it doesn't, add up for U.S. code right now.
Well, like I said, I think it just kind of fucks their minds up. They're just like, well, this doesn't even make sense. You know what I mean? Like, how come? Because also it makes their other stuff look terrible, and that is what you're like you were saying. As far as this smoke is what kills people, a lot of formaldehyde,
the chemicals,
a lot of stuff that's just seems so unnecessary when you kind of look into it, and it's a little bit like our food chain where you're like, are all these things really necessary? It's like, no, they're not, but they definitely help the revenue streams of these other companies that make all this other crap that they end up with, like barrels of
soy lecithin,
they got
that kind of thing.
Yeah, they got barrels of products that are like, maybe they are scientifically not bad for us because they haven't done enough tests, but they're definitely not good for us, and they're definitely not necessary, but because we need a new way to get rid of them. It's like food and construction materials and those kind of things are all like areas that people can, because I mean, imagine in concrete alone, how many mysteries are out there because of the guys who run, it's like pig farmers and concrete layers are the guys you don't want to fuck with because you can disappear forever. You know what I mean? Like literally,
old school knowledge.
I pour concrete, right? You're like, oh yeah, probably don't want to fuck with that guy, because you might end up in the piece of foundation at some point. But in general, it's like also just imagine all the things that maybe otherwise, people wanted to get rid of besides bodies, not just bodies, but materials. I was like, oh well, shit. As much as you can mix in, you can fucking, because it's about dilution of quality, which is what a lot of people don't give a fuck about. And that's where I think hemp is always so superior that it messes everybody up. Because in the end, like when you're making clothes, like you show people the material and they're like, wow, this stuff's really nice. Like then they use it and they're like, dude, I've never even, like we made overalls for these tattoo artists, and they were like, dude, the fucking ink didn't even stain it. And this tattoo ink, you know what I mean? And they were like, brains were like, kind of like, I couldn't even understand, because they're like, dude, normally that shit will just, that's it, you're done. And because it has those nano qualities, you know what I mean? Like things that we can't even see, that you're like, oh yeah, it does kind of repel dust and dirt, and it does do all these awesome things. And it's like weird because we can't change that. It's just the nature of the plant, you know?
Designed by nature, right? Best way to go.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And it's just so I think when you do that, you get kind of like it makes everything stall along the way because people can't really categorize it. They're like, this thing, and it as it always has done, competes on every level. You know what I mean? So it's like, well, wait a minute, if this stuff lasts 10 times as long and it's half the, it wouldn't even be half the price. Right now it'd be more expensive. But when you see the future, you're like, well, yeah, right now we have to import it, or we're only growing a little bit of it. Once we have 10 million acres growing, which, is going to happen because every state is figuring it out and growing exponentially. Have you been using any hemp outside of Colorado? You've been using any other, you've gone to other places that actually produced any and done any kind of projects or anything?
I haven't yet. I know there's work to be done up on the Pine Ridge Reservation. I got contacted by a friend of the White Plumes who wants us to come up and do some work. But then from that article, I got a call from Washington, D.C. I got a call from Pennsylvania.
Awesome.
So people wanting to do hempcrete projects all over the country, and that's what I want to do. I want to be able to just go to Pittsburgh, go to St. Louis, just boom, 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 and knock these things out and have seminars. And I came up doing straw bale seminars before I got into hemp, And it was like, they're the funnest weeks you can have. You go and you're with like-minded people. They're learning how to build with this sustainable material. You camp, you have campfires, food all day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a blast. It's like a work vacation kind of thing.
Sounds
but,
great.
Yeah.
No, that's
So that's
cool.
what I want to emulate with the Hempcrete business. That's kind of what I was shooting for.
Yeah, and the thing is, depending on the states and their regulations and the availability, it's like it's going to go from 0 to like 100 real quick because right now, you might be going into a state that is just putting in their first crop. No one's going to know what to do with half their stuff. So there's going to be like an overflow of stalks and stems and herds and whatever you need. Usually is what happens. And it's also because before, like people were importing from France, and that was like ridiculous. I was like, you're going to build a house in America with like shipping it over. I was like, wow, that's just so not carbon friendly at all. Like you just kind of killed the whole idea of what we're trying to do.
It's got a little bit of a footprint, but for now it'll do. I mean, it's what we have to do. So like we're doing 2 projects in Montrose, 2 18 by 32 foot cabins that the guy's building on his hemp farm. So he'll eventually be able to produce hemp to transport and stuff like that. I mean, it's 135 acres.
So they're actually importing also, same deal?
And we have to get it from Old Dominion. I mean, to get the quality of hemp herd that we want to get. And, I mean, it was $13,000 for a container, but that's enough to do both of those houses. So, until we get processing, 5 years on now, no processing yet to any scale.
And where is that source material from?
The last batch we bought was, I mean, they get it from Europe, but I mean, it's from New
Romania,
Zealand specifically, I think is where
Really?
Josh Helberg told us he got it from. But
It's like, think about that footprint again.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so New Zealand to America.
Yeah.
Probably
but-
via Europe. You know what I
Right.
mean? You're like, oh, that's some wear and tear on
Right.
that. And that's the the ironic part of it all, of course, is like, if you could wait just a season, we can get that to you. You know what I mean? It's just on the time clock.
Right.
But I do think it's going to be to the point where we have so much that hopefully that'll be, because that's the thing that's what's right now making it not competitive is what do you, I mean, at $13,000, I mean, that's still pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Compared to what you'd have to do. I mean, how much did you do a price comparison there with what would it cost with normal materials and kind of get up with a?
Well, the range is it's usually about 50 cents a pound to import it. And if it was grown here, I read one company in Canada, I don't know if they're still in business now, it was like 12 or 15 cents a pound. So it's infinitely less to have it produced at least on the continent and then
Yeah,
get
50,
it that
50
way.
cents a pound
Huge
seems
difference.
expensive to me. It's like, whoa, that's a lot. Knowing.
How many thousand pounds have laid in a field for the last 5 years and rotted? Yeah.
Exactly. Well, the ones that we did in Amsterdam when we built those walls, it was from the first crop that Hempflax put out, and it was in this place called Oude-Pekela, which they still is where they do their growing. And so we we rented a big fucking van with a big moving thing with a lower, with a thing that would lower, and just backed it up to like literally a huge pile in the middle of a field of herds that they just like shredded them and just kept doing it until it was a mountain, and we just shoveled it in and drove it back to Amsterdam.
That's
and
awesome.
shoveled it out. We didn't have any bags or nothing because we were like, fuck it, we just do it. You know what I mean? We just backed the thing up to the shop and we're like, and it was like, they just like, go take it. It's like, it's free, whatever, so it was awesome. But it was like the idea that we can grow for every, like, say, 2.5 acres is about a 1,400 square foot, something like that. Probably
Yeah,
give or
they're
take.
loose,
Loosely saying.
Sure.
But that's like a house. That's like a good sized house, nice, and then that's a nice piece of land, 2.5 acres. So it's like if you could just do that as a project, I feel like with 250 acre plot, make 100 homes, and fucking do it at a rate that is price wise, and then bring in the right people that actually benefit people that have like allergies or people that have because that's the crazy part about hemp is there's so much positive stuff that you just kind of like, which direction do we need to go? You know what I mean? Like, because now everybody's got like literally everybody has some sort of, not everybody, but especially young kids all seem to have allergies, have issues, and the ability to give them a place where the materials are safe is super huge. What's that, mister? Is that all our weed? Weed for us? Weed delivery? Looks like a weed delivery guy. Oh, it's Tim Martin. Oh, it's the same thing, right? Weed delivery guy. Was that noise I heard? Oh, that's video games. Video games. Okay, I was like doodly doodly doo.
I try to harp on the indoor air quality
So
that you get with Hempcrete.
yeah, so
I'm
have you,
telling people about
what do you
it.
think about the difference between like Hempcrete made with hemp and Hempcrete made with cannabis? Now, have you noticed? Because I mean, obviously, you've probably had more cannabis.
Well, that's come up quite a bit, and I was actually approached working for Boulder County for a short time. Somebody knew I was working with hemp, and they're like, "Well, hey, can you keep us from putting all these cannabis stalks into a landfill?" And I'm like, it probably depends on the strain, but I'm sure there's probably some good quality. And I'm thinking if you can use hemp herd that's been used for bioremediation in Hempcrete,
Yeah.
I don't think the pesticides that are in cannabis that are supposed to be flushed out should probably be a problem within the walls once they're sealed up. But there's kind of
I mean, yeah, that
two
is-
sides to that, and a
that's
lot of
a
people
hard-
are against it. Some people are for it.
Yeah, I mean that's a hard one to determine because none of us have ever. No, none of us could say that with 100% guarantee. Oh yeah, for sure. Pesticides, Hempcrete, no problem, dude.
Right.
And then all of a sudden,
So there definitely needs to be testing. I know there's kind of a law being pushed through now or some kind of suggestion to get it passed to use cannabis, but I'd rather see some testing. Now, the question of the actual herd being of the same quality is probably real close.
yeah,
As long as it was clean.
it's also well, I think a little bit also comes down to like if you're growing hydro or you're growing soil, because if you're growing hydro, it's not even at all the same because there's such a thin wall of herd. Like there's much less herd on a hydro. You get all fiber and just open, as open as possible.
Big pith in there.
Yeah, exactly,
Okay,
huge.
cool.
And so that would be much lower quality, and. I mean, right now the thing is that most of the hemp in Colorado is not hemp either. It's all CBD stuff. So it's really just cannabis style growing with CBD. So that's where a lot of the it's almost like the word hemp has been kind of adulterated here in the last couple of years, just because people they don't go beyond that. They're like, oh yeah, I got a hemp farm. And you're like, you have a hemp farm or you have a CBD farm? Oh well, yeah, CBD. And it's like, okay, then you have I wouldn't say a weed farm, but you just definitely have a medicinal CBD farm. You don't have there's not necessarily, you're not a hemp grower by any means, especially when you start looking at the numbers of seeds, because you're like, they might grow 3,000 an acre or something, and you're like, no, like 3 million an acre, like fucking pack those bitches in
Right,
there, you
right.
know what I mean? And they're like, huh? But I also think if more focus was based on, well, first of all, raise the THC content just a little bit. Not that we want to get high, but just that we want to be able to grow more varieties and not be stuck with, only these low expressions
Right.
plants.
What are you thinking? I always say about 1% to 2% would be.
Well, 2% is over OTT. They'll never do that.
Sure. But one definitely should be.
0.9 or 1% would be perfect. 0.9 would make it like a little give and take, because you'd be like, okay, look, we're going to give it before 1%, so we're under 1%. We're not
Right.
actually at the threshold, but we're also opening up our ability to have terpier weed, really, or terpier CBD. Was it taste things I would actually smoke, or you would, or just, and actually, it's just going to make everything work better. You know what I mean? Like that little 0.3% or 0.6% is going to, hugely make things activate a lot. Because that's what people don't get. And it's like, I'm scared.
Yeah, it takes a lot of strain off
Don't
the
be
farmers
scared.
too, worrying about the big bad CDA coming up and destroying, saying you can't use your crop. It's 0.031.
That would be
Right.
horrible. Yeah.
Well, and it's the problem is that now people are getting ballsy with growing from seed a lot more too, because before everybody did clone, and it was pretty well established that those aren't going to go, because at least those are if you had the right clones, of course. But now everybody's like already seeing people taking like last year's thing. Oh yeah, no problem. We cleared it last year, and it's like, nah, that's not really how it works. You know what I mean? Like you are setting yourself up. Basically, you're just gonna need to harvest early. You need to go like September 1st, go in and harvest everything, and just be like, fuck it, don't care if it's not ready yet, because
Right.
we ain't gonna get in trouble. Because between September 1st and September 15th, things just compound. You know what I mean? Like, can go up overnight, and you are not going to pay it, because nature, especially in those flowering stages, it's just crazy how much shit is going down, because it's all happening when the lights are out, right? Or in the darkness. So you go in, yeah, it looks great. And the next day you come back and boom, all these fucking things are just blooming like crazy. And you're like, when did that all happen? You know what I mean? And it's enough to completely fuck your program up if you go high.
So with this strain of certified seed that the state came out with, or okayed, I mean, if you're growing certified seed, you're protected, right?
No, well, not if the seed goes over the mark.
But I mean, isn't it supposed to?
Well, that's the problem. I don't think there is no real, or at this point, there's like 1 or 2 strains that they're kind of saying are certified, but at the same time, again, like there's not enough evidence because they haven't got enough years behind them to say like these things are not going to go above, and then that's all your responsibility. But they should be. I don't know. There's a group in Oregon that has some pretty interesting looking CBD stuff called Oregon CBD Seeds, and I was looking at all their crosses, and they were like, damn, these like super silver haze crosses and stuff. I was like, damn, these guys are, on the line, touting the line there pretty much because it's pretty hard. But the future is, being able to get non-detectables, which is what 2 is working on right now and a few other people. And it's like, so we're getting to that phase where you just make it so it's impossible for the plant to do it, and it can only do the other parts, and then you're kind of protecting yourself at that point. And that's kind of the golden ticket now. Everyone's looking for that, So if you got that, everybody's knocking on your door. I need it. So the New York guys, were they doing that for? Is it in the business? What section was that in the? Was it kind of like underneath? Because the New York Times is pretty much a trader's dream kind of paper. Was it focused on kind of investment groups, or was it kind of like?
It seemed to be a general information piece.
Right. It wasn't like.
And I think they talked to the Hemp Industry Association or somebody like that.
HIA,
So,
yeah. I mean, it's like the. It's the most interesting part of the industry, and that's the part that like I think is what I've been kind of walking around telling people for the last 3 to 4 years is like if somebody asks me what do you think's the next big thing, and it's like I'm always saying Hempcrete because it hasn't. It kind of had a little wave where everybody was like whoa, and then it kind of faded away, and then people like yourself actually ran with the ball and did something. So I think now when they have some proof of concepts like the building that you guys did. Mm-hmm. And do you know any other ones local that are going to be opening up soon, or is there anybody else like?
Well, there's a couple other companies doing the Hempcrete thing.
Is there any other projects you know of that are kind of like bigger? Bigger than nothing that's.
The 2 we're building, I think, might be the first 2 residential buildings in the state, but somebody.
And the first one you guys finished is just a workshop. Right?
Yeah, it's a workshop.
So less on the permitting and stuff, I would assume. Because no one's ever going to live.
No plumbing, stuff like that. So
gotcha.
And the guy's name's Eric McKee, and he's going to do, he's working with different facets of hemp. I think doing a lot of work with hemp plastics. Mm-hmm. And then Bob Escher was a guy we met at NOCA once again, who his design. He's an architect. Mm-hmm. And he wanted to get into Hempcrete, so he came on board and drew the building.
That's awesome.
And then there was a timberite, who's a buddy of Eric's from Pennsylvania, Mark Cover, and he did an amazing job milling this building out of like hemlock trees, but it was 8-by-inch posts. If you guys haven't driven over and seen it, it's quite amazing. It was like an Amish barn raising. I mean, 12-inch thick, rafters.
Yeah.
For the roof. It was crazy. And everything fit together like Lincoln logs. It was perfect.
Yeah.
It was a really fun project to work on, actually. So
nice. Tim, come on now. You're just looking on your phone during the show. Look, you guys straight
I
at
just
you.
came in the conversation.
Yeah,
you guys are finishing up the conversation?
You're just sitting here on your phone. My
I was going to
God.
eat too. I'm
What an
starving right
arrogant
Perfect
bastard. No, you got to look at your food and watch it get cold. That's what you got to do on my show.
now. No, in a minute I'm going to take a couple bites.
Really?
I don't want to be rude.
We'll make sure the camera's on you at that point, too. So
I don't want to be rude.
you are rude. You're born rude, bro.
And I didn't know if I was taking off the dude in there or not. So
Yes.
it's just like, all right, I'm going to go in here.
Yeah, he was just texting me like, who's this guy? Should I get rid of him?
So he's being loud. Tell him to shut the fuck up.
Exactly. Do you even know who we're talking to? Do you know what we're talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Hempcrete, I'm familiar with it. And then I know
I was ready to hempcrete your feet. And
I know Chris.
Toss you in the river.
Oh.
Ooh.
I know Chris from. I think he lives in Oregon. The Chris Tenson guy online.
Yeah,
he's the one that I first.
you know Chris Tenson, right? You've seen.
yeah, I think
Probably
That's
heard
Oregon
of
Hemp. Is that Oregon Hemp?
Yeah, Oregon Hemp Works or something like
Yeah,
that.
he stole my name.
Yeah,
I already went up to him at a show. I was like, dude, you know Hemp Works, right?
We already have that.
But and he was like, oh yeah, I went to your store in Amsterdam. And I was like, oh, so you went to my store in Amsterdam, and you came home and you started the same name. It's like, this is back when people thought there was no, it's all the way over there.
Well, he had passed around a video of You know, the I don't know if you guys talked about it, but the flamethrower, the blowtorch on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
block of
Oh, yeah, we
hemp,
talked
basically,
about-
just left it sitting there.
We were saying that they didn't even, like, he said it didn't even get, the code didn't even, like, they wouldn't give it that high rating or nothing. Because they're like, no, we don't, you know.
We're
And
not
like
gonna
I
do
said,
that.
I don't know if it got relayed to him accurately or not, because when the guy came out to do his initial inspection, he was just amazed. He was like, for one thing, he was amazed at the timber framing. He was just like, Jesus Christ. He goes, did you over-engineer this thing? And we're like, well, yeah. And the Hempcrete's going to be much better than
Gotta
any
show how
code.
versatile
Yeah,
it is,
it was
dude.
great.
Yeah.
You got to
So-
overcode it. I mean, that's
Yeah.
definitely the way to go.
Overboard.
Overboard.
I can imagine, man. That's probably. I mean, this stuff wasn't easy. It's not lightweight to get that type of.
But you guys are pouring
Architecture
it in spot
together.
too, right? You're
Yeah.
not doing any kind of blocks or nothing, right? So you guys, I think that's the way to go anyway.
Yeah, it makes it a nice uniform monolithic structure.
And then
Close all that.
How many guys did the actual production side of it all? Was it a small crew or?
It was like 30 people.
I was pretty
Wow.
good
That
sized
showed
crew.
up during the week. Yeah,
Yeah.
we had a good crew. And we got done exactly in a week, so it was pretty good.
That's
Wow.
dope.
Weather cooperated and everything.
And the molds were made out of just plywood, or they were something more
Oh
complicated?
yeah, we just use OSB.
Oh yeah.
I wish I could buy the fancy. One of these days, I'll buy those fancy plastic forms that they produce in England that they build all their houses with. They're nice. They have corner molds and everything. You just
Yeah.
lock
Very
them
nice.
And it, I mean, all that stuff. The cool part about it is it's really like it is exactly what you think. It's not. There's not a lot of secret shit going on. It's kind of like, yeah, you make a mold, you pour it in.
Yep.
How long in between each pour do you have to go? Do you go like day? Like do you have to wait a whole day for it to harden up, or do you kind of
So
catch
you-
it when it's still wet?
in. You can take the forms off in like 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Yeah, that's what we were doing. And then,
Wow.
and then when you move them up, you want to make sure that like, you know, the top foot's still covered, so nobody's pushing stuff out because it's still wet.
Right.
All right.
And, you know, it takes a week or two to dry, depending on the weather. I hear stuff dries really quickly, so it's
Sure.
really conducive for hempcrete. It's
And,
nice.
and can it dry too fast? Can it dry too fast?
Not as long as you get your mix right.
Yeah.
The faster it dries,
Well,
the
you
better.
know, you
He
don't-
wants the cure on the hempcrete to be just right.
Exactly. Do you have to wait? You have to bend it until it, like, you get a little bend out of it. Squeeze it. It kind of bounces back a little bit. You're like, it's all
right.
perfect.
There we go.
hilarious.
There we go.
That's ridiculous.
The forming's always the slowest part of the whole thing, though. That's the tricky part. You have to have a really good, tight crew on the forming because they're just a step ahead of the people doing the hempcrete. And, you know, you go around and up is the way we do it.
Does that weak kind of rule apply even in more humid places or whatever? Like Southern
Just
states
timing,
or
I guess.
whatever?
I mean, I think maybe 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you're down in the equatorial regions, it might take a lot longer than that to totally cure.
I
but-
can see that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the really cool part is if you had hemp growing somewhere and you had a big shit pile of hemp herds and you had even a couple people, you could definitely. I mean, it would take you longer. It might take you a couple months to do it instead of weeks. But that's the sweet part about it is like the not needing big heavy machinery to do stuff that normally you kind of would. So
Yeah, the mortar mixer's also key. You know, it's the one with the tub's independent of the paddles. The concrete barrel mixers, of course, don't work because they just throw
just
it
keeps going around in circles
Okay.
So we tried to do it in one, and it was just like, yeah, no, it's
because you got to create that resistance. You end
Yeah.
up just putting the thing in the whole time and kind of trying to break it up.
yeah. So the mortar mixer's key, and if you had one of those, you could do it actually pretty quickly, I think.
Now, what about 3D printing and stuff? I'm sure people are always hitting up because I mean that seems to be the future of laying concrete because of the fact that anything to make it so we don't have to actually have people have jobs. No, but in general, it's like anything to make it like more efficient. And some of those houses are printing in like literally 24 hours.
Yeah.
And
With the concrete
Yeah.
printer, yeah, that's amazing. I wish.
Now,
crazy looking.
no, I mean that seems to be like the natural progression in the sense of like, okay, you got to take the highest tech way and use this latest ancient high tech, technique. But have you ever seen anybody? Because I haven't seen it done.
With hemp?
Yeah, like
I don't know,
hemp
but-
3D printed.
Other than like actual plastic.
Oh, plastics I've seen. And
Green
that-
Spring Technologies
Exactly.
is awesome down in Austin.
I think also it's cool is that when you're making 3D printed stuff, like this is 3D printed and how it leaves the little grooves in it and stuff. But with hemp, it seems like it's kind of like hash where it just tends to like blend into itself really well, So I've noticed that hemp plastic in a 3D printed sort of atmosphere in a situation, it seems to be almost superior. I mean, as far as like when I was looking at the different kinds of plastic, I was like, damn, you can see how this stuff just blends. It would almost end up kind of like this where it just kind of, it's all smooth and nice. And I've seen some really good quality hemp plastics lately where it's been, That's not.
Is that from Hempline?
No, this
Out
is
of
actually
Amsterdam?
no. This is 1962 Bakelite, so it's not hemp.
Oh,
but it's Bakelite, which is also vegetable plastic.
Sure,
So
sure.
it's kind of on the same tip, And it's literally like it has a little year here that says 62 on it. So I was always like, I got this as a weed container in Amsterdam, and I've just been carrying it for 25 years now. Like, hey, it's my weed. But it's interesting because
That's a long time to have that
it is right?
for a weed container.
the longest weed container I've ever had. But in
That's
general,
pretty ridiculous.
But in general, the feeling of natural plastic is so different than plastic that's made from oil. It's almost like the plastic from oil has a weird like magnetic wrongness going on about it. You know what I mean? Like when you put, how when you use Tupperware and you're doing your buds and all the shit just sticks to the side in a weird way. You're like, that's kind of weird. This never does that with the hemp stuff. The hemp always is like there's no static weirdness and stuff. So I feel like it's, again, one of those situations where you're like, dude, this shit's just awesome. Like, it works so good,
Superior product.
It'll
It'll be interesting to see as they start to roll out. I don't know if you guys talked about cost or whatever, but
Yeah, we're just saying, obviously, well, the difference is now we're growing. If you're growing specifically to make hemp herds, then you're not doing it right. You need to be growing so much hemp that some guy like him rolls up and goes, hey, I need some hemp herds. And you're like, oh, dude, there's like 40 tons in the back. How much you going to give me? And you're like, oh, I'll give you like, $10 a ton. And they're like, cool. And then you're like, yeah, now we're in that zone, because that's what's happening with other industries. Because if you go to the timber industry and you go, hey, what's all this sawdust right here? And they're like, oh, fuck, you want it? Yeah. Get it out of here. You know what I mean? And then so that's kind of where hemp has a hard time competing, because it's competing with other like
yeah,
trash,
I understand that.
trash
There's just
reeds.
no.
Yeah. So until we get to that stage
Yeah,
where we have enough hemp, then we're gonna be like, it's there's so much around.
It's too restricted. I mean, there's just not
Yeah.
the ability to grow. The availability of it is just not at that point. But I would figure, though, I mean, all the signs and all the facts, everything about this, I mean, it makes sense. Everything that I've seen of it, I mean, it's incredible. It's an incredible building material, and how cheap it can be in the long run. It's just, I mean, it's incredible. It's just.
Well, yeah. The cool part is once you do get to that point where there's hundreds of thousands of acres growing and people have shitloads of it, and it's not a cost thing. Then you get into all the other parts, which is, hypoallergenic, and, all these like super high things that are now important. They may not have been, maybe nobody even thought about it before, but now it's like, oh, actually, might be the only thing I can do it in. And it's also like when you're wearing hemp. Like when you wear hemp, after a while, you realize, like you can wear the same shirt for days on end, right, Tim? How many days can you wear a hemp shirt?
I don't know.
You have the record. I thought you had the record of the most days with a hemp shirt.
Oh my God.
But in general, you can get away with it way better with a
I'm
hemp
not
shirt
the look you're looking for.
than when you have like a poly blend or something. You wear a poly blend 2 days in a row, it's like, dude, did you get like a cat spray you or something like that? You get that like just funked out. You're like, what? Do I smell it? Yeah, you're pretty funky and ripe. You know what I mean? But with hemp, it has this sort of vibe where you're like, yeah, you can wear that for months like a wook. You can wook out and nobody's gonna see.
It's ridiculous.
It
Is
true,
more
though.
comfortable.
It's
All the
true,
bacteria
though.
the same, right? Because like we're scented from
No,
the bacteria.
well, yeah,
so
they
that's-
actually like host bacteria is what happens. Your shirt is just hosting the other bacteria, and they have a little party in your shirt. Party in your shirt, bro.
There we go.
No. But in general, it is. It's a superior product, which we can all agree on that.
It's more comfortable. It's crazy. The hemp
just-
shirts that you get from like you wear them over time. They do get more comfortable. I do sweat a little bit more.
What?
Sometimes.
But you're the worst
No,
example.
I'm not. Why am I the worst example? It's just true.
Because any strenuous work will make you sweat, and
Yeah,
other people actually can pull it off without having to break a
That's
sweat.
bullshit.
Like the things we wouldn't break a sweat, you're dripping.
It does. They do breathe. It does. The weird thing is that I don't know. They're warmer, but in a way, it does breathe better. Because even when you do sweat,
you don't know what you're talking
even when you do sweat,
Yes.
that shirt will dry out.
It has
Or
a-
if you get it wet, it'll dry out a lot more.
about. It has a superior wicking quality.
It does.
Is what it's called.
It's more comfortable.
It's wicking.
Yeah.
It's the wicking.
Is there any other problems you run into it? The other thing is that,
The only problem I run into it is guys like you who don't have a clue what's going on.
but also
talking
quality.
shit.
There's different quality
That's
too
the
of
only
hemp.
thing I have.
I mean, there's
There
different
is.
quality of too of hemp. I don't know if it matters of if you're building a building. I'm sure there's
Well-
quality across the board and everything you work with. But if you're making a shirt and you build it from lower quality hemp, the thing's gonna fall apart and
Yeah, it's more like it will probably
badly fall apart.
It's all about the stitching there. Now you're talking about something else. The hemp itself won't fall apart.
So
It'll
what
just be-
about some of these? So
It's just
some
more
of
of the tufts. You get like But the problem with hemp, what you'll get, if you want to look at what's good and what's bad, you got to basically, you take the material and you put it on like a light box and you look at all the threads and you just look for ones that don't have like crazy wide and crazy thin and crazy wide, because those ones that tend to be like blotchy over time. So, we get the best quality.
But there's products out there. For instance, I can think of some bag. For instance, a bag. I won't say the name.
He's bagging on my bags now?
Not your bag.
All right, just checking.
I don't think I've ever had one of your bags.
No.
But these other bags, I mean, the material just falls apart on them, hemp material. And I was told it's a lower quality hemp material.
It could be. The thing is, there's a lot. Okay, so for instance, like China, which I've said this many times, China makes the best hemp. I'm sorry. They're superior.
Why you have to be sorry about it? I mean,
I'm just sorry.
You're not allowed to grow hemp here.
We're not the leaders anymore. We're the losers. We're not the leaders. But
I mean, that's not okay. But it's okay that China is grows hemp.
It's the fucking fact that they never stopped. You know what I mean? The whole thing is they were making like their whole military, every single thing they wore in their military up until recently, because now they're kind of like doing other blends. But for the most part, up until the 90s. 2000s, they were all hemp, everything, entire uniform.
The Chinese and Japanese hemp and marijuana stories I mean, it's fascinating. I mean, how much hemp they actually grow, and the farmers out there. I mean, in regions where it's regulated, you can grow weed and sell it in this region. They grow hemp.
Yeah, the weirdest part though is that they don't smoke. That's the bizarre. You're like, so how the fuck are you guys growing all this hemp and you're smoking tobacco and you're all sitting there crying, just smoking cigarettes after cigarettes, and you're like, don't you guys smoke any of it? You know what I mean?
It's like, because they don't care.
No,
because it's been something that's part of their system.
It's weird.
Part of it.
It's weird. They got scared of it years ago. They've been it's kind of been beaten out of them in a weird way. Like they used to be more into it because it was more a medicinal thing. They were all just kind of like a lot of cultures where they're like, it's a medicine. You make rope out of it. We make material. We do this. No problems. But then in more recent history, they cracked down on it because we all cracked down on it, and then it gives them another reason to kind of go in and be heavy-handed, which they love that. Oh, heavy-handed? Weed? Sure. So
that's true.
So they scared all their locals. Like when you're there and you're traveling around, like Rob Clark's traveling.
But it's not as...
and you'll find pockets of people doing it.
Yeah, but it's not as bad as you think it would be from an outsider
right
in Japan
now,
and China. I mean, if you import and you do get in trouble there, but there are areas where it's accepted and they have deals with the local government worked out, and it's just part of the economy. And I think partly though that they've grown hemp for so long over there, and because weed is an herb in a lot of situations, that it's not as
they just have a weird it's
not as taboo there, so it's not as big in some ways, but it is in some sense.
Weed is hemp. They just kind of do it that's their job. You know at the factory that we do we get our hemp from when we go there. They basically they sleep on. They have hemp houses that they built out of hemp fucking sticks and stuff. You're like, okay, so it's built out of hemp. They sleep on hemp beds. They fucking cook with hemp charcoal that they make. So it's like they've got
hemp charcoal.
They have hemp charcoal.
This is crazy.
They're cooking their thing. They got their hemp seed gruel thing that they make. So it's like what you guys are doing, but they're all actually relatively healthy. I'd say they're still they're still Chinese, like lower class. Money wise, they're not making tons of money, but they were living pretty healthy comparatively. Then they would, the diet that they had and everything would be some sort of crazy boulder thing, which they charge you a shitload of money to do. Dude, you're gonna eat hemp charcoal. Yeah. We're gonna cook hemp charcoal. And you're gonna eat hemp seed gruel, and you're gonna pay me $1,000. It's gonna be great, something like that. Yeah. But anyway, we gotta do shout outs because you just reminded me.
I'll remind you.
Yeah.
How is the access? Do you? Access if you're trying to
my sponsors,
get, I'm not talking to you.
You're just trying to I
was going to talk to this guy over here.
You're not talking to him now. We're about to do sponsors.
Nice.
You're about to shut up. Eat your food. Eat your food right now. Perfect time.
Well, I was going to ask him. I was going to ask him.
No,
I'm going to eat my bite. Then I'll ask him when I'm done.
Asking.
God, you're a dick.
Shout outs. Jesus Christ! I have to battle now to do my. Tim. Tim.
I was trying to be a dick to Adam, and I ended up being a dick to everybody.
To the world. Dick to the world.
Happens.
Go make George angry at you out there, so I can. I'm gonna go right over this. All right, there you go. Right out of the gate, big shout out to our guys from New Millennium, so we can grow these plants, so we can then sit here and try to figure out what the hell to do with them, because What do you want to do? Seeds? You want to do hemp? It'd be expensive to do New Millennium hemp crop, but stranger things have happened. They follow the seasons with their formulas, makes it quite easy for anybody. And also, if you're in large-scale operations, it's all applicable to that too. And they've got if you go to their website, they've got a calculator there that'll tell you. You can punch in what you're thinking, and it'll spit it out at you, and you'd be like, "Oh shit, that saved me a lot of money," or you'd be like, "Damn, it's a lot more than I'm used to." So who knows? Depends on what level of you're at. You go to newmillenniumnutrients.com, check them out. Give them the Adam Dunn Show special, which is who the hell knows. Just say Adam Dunn Show, and then something magic happens usually. Or you get just cut off. That's it. You're done. Like,
Works
sorry.
for you at least.
Sorry. Yeah, hit them up, newmillenniumnutrients.com. And Incredibles, the best edibles here in Colorado by far. Whole huge line going on now of wellness products, bath salts. I'm not saying bath salts. Bath salts. It's hard to say. It's hard to say the word bath salts anymore. It's like, it's like trying to sell acid. You're like, it's not acid. It's acid. No, you mean like, acid that you burn stuff with. I'm pH down. I'm looking for pH down. If you walk into, hey, got any acid? You're like, what? Same problem.
It kind of is off your approach, I'm sure, too. Though,
It is. But they have real bath salts that actually work. CBD infused. And they also have a bunch of new mints. Those mints are jamming, man. He brought some of those the other night. They were awesome. The cinnamon ones were the fire.
Who'd you have here?
Derek from Incredibles was
Okay.
just hanging out. And he just brought me some of those to check out. And they were
Nice.
super dope because they are just low micro dosing, couple milligrams each. So it's not about the effects as much as about being able to have a killer mint every 10 seconds because that's how you do when you're like, these are microdose. I'll just eat 5 of those. But awesome flavors, and they also have incredible extracts. If you are in a shop and they have them on their shelf, you should be scooping them up because they're not there very often. And also, if you're into making extracts and you want to get in touch with them about their incredible extractor, that will set you off on the professional, the right up top level. Because I've watched guys who have never used a machine that obviously knew how to use other machines, and on their first run just nailed it. So it's super easy to use, but also as adjustable as you need to be too, so you can be a real artist, right? Extract artist. iloveincredibles.com for that. And also they have a store finder and they don't do a calculator how high you want to get yet, do they? I need 10 pieces. They should have a high calculator, like same as a... Oh, that's what they got? Okay, good. That's a great website. They got lots on there to check out. And don't forget, Build a Soil. Jeremy, we need to get him on the show soon because we hung out at the last Indo Expo and both agreed it's been too long having him on the show.
Sure.
But if you got hard to find amendments, if you're getting into TLO, you're getting into any kind of organic growing, these are the guys you want to get in touch with. Also, great for beneficials and like I said, hard to find things you'll never see in any other shop. So go to buildasoil.com or go to 855-877-SOIL, and they will hook you up. If you switched over, and if you are done with that and you got your soil, now you need some seeds. That would be the perfect combination. You got all, you ate a bunch of edibles, and you went out and bought a bunch of soil. Then you came home and you gave Seeds Here Now a call or hit them up online and ordered yourself some awesome beans. Guaranteed, which is an amazing thing in this industry. Any problems with them, you just get in touch with them. They'll replace them. Be reasonable, please. And also, if you go to seedsaholics.com, which is their auction site, you can find all sorts of lost packs, charity deals, which when they do the charities are always like 100% going to the charity. And these guys, we do actually have a ADS special, which is ADS 420, I believe. I think it's good enough. If you do that, they'll get the picture. Apparently, we're not pulling our weight getting them customers because all our customers don't use our code and they forget, and then it's like, we all slip through the cracks. Looks like we're not doing our job, but we know So many of our listeners have already ordered from seedsherenow.com because that is the premier spot to go to. But they don't even, they just don't even consider it anymore. They're like, whatever, So believe me, we're doing our job here. So you do your job. Get in touch with seedsherenow.com, get some good seeds, and make some shit happen, right? And don't forget, Mr. Wallace Wow. Yes.
WallaceWow.com.
WallaceWow.com for the best in rhizosphere products. This is the guy you want to talk to if you are planning on growing organically and you've already gone to Jeremy and you've gone to his site and picked up some stuff. Well, Ron's got a few items that even Jeremy doesn't have, and that guy's winning world's records. So, pretty much want to talk to the guy who's winning the world's records when you want some big ass production, right? We'll get Ron on the show sometime soon. Definitely have him always in October, but maybe we'll do a planting show with him or something, because it all comes around the same time. Pumpkins, weed, it's totally different ending, but the same exact beginning, which is same time of year, same amount of light hours and things and nutrient requirements, just a bit more on the extos instead of the endos on the mycorrhizals and stuff. And so, but it's crazy how a lot of it's just so synergistic, and we can learn a lot from each other.
They're probably using a lot more
Water. We do like 65 pounds a day
and food
of production on the biggest pumpkins. Can you imagine that? 50 to 60 pounds of actual growth a day.
It's crazy. The amount of nutrients that guy uses.
Not the whole time, but at the peak days. It's like you can just sit there for 5 or 6 hours, and if it's quiet enough, you can kind of hear the cells break. It's like, wow, it's growing. So
it's crazy.
Get in touch with Ron. Get some and then pick up some pumpkin seeds while you're at it. Might as well try, right? You get them direct from the man.
The only thing that bummed me out about that story is that they taste like crap.
Well,
pumpkins.
It's like anything, dude. Anything big.
It's the worst part of the story.
Fish, food, all sorts of stuff. Like anything. You go for the big one, it's going to taste woody and shitty. Same with buds. I mean, big giant buds. None of us want those. We want those, the crown around the bottom of them.
Yeah.
That's the ones that would taste good. So same deal. You don't want the blown out stuff. And
unless you grow your own, you really don't know.
And
how awesome that is,
was it
though.
From the sponsors. Also want to obviously thank Metlo for the Metlo Studios where we're sitting in right now, and lots of new things coming out from here because this is about the beginning of the season. We'll be doing. I'll keep you guys all updated. So when you're in Denver, you want to visit 1111 Broadway, come check it out. If you need a haircut, you come to this building. There's 9 hair salons in this building. It's like you need a haircut, you go to the Metlo.
It's pretty true.
It's totally true. You could come hang out with us and get a haircut at the same time, or not at the same time, but within the same trip.
Chat's asking if you got a contact high yet at all while you've been here.
No.
Hasn't been that smoky in here
I
at
need
all.
a lighter. That's what we need to do. Let's get the contact high going. Come on.
Exactly.
Lighter? Who's got a lighter?
I don't have a lighter.
Oh, man. See?
I just dab.
How useless you are. Okay, so
it's
speaking
true.
of useless, the reason why Tim's here is
You
not
fucking
because he's useless. It's because he's been out there vindicating the world for... Come on, tell us what happened with
I don't
CDOT.
know what you're talking about.
Tell me what happened. I like
I don't know why it should help you out when you're just an absolute dick towards me.
I know.
You're so smooth.
It's the way to do it, dude. I'm telling you.
That's all right. This is just how we work.
Your fans love it when I berate you.
My fans, your fans.
No, your fans are
I don't
my
have any fans anymore.
Spring Hill's mine now. I'm sorry. He's moved over. He's mine now. But he really wants you to come back. So then therefore he's still loyal.
Back.
He's loyal. I know you're back. But you're not back like you were back.
That's because I don't have all my time dedicated into doing cannabis show.
Come on.
I'm more delivering cannabis.
The world is waiting. But anyway, besides all that, you were driving down the road.
You wanted me to talk about
doing your job, right?
You wanted me to talk about the highway thing that they're talking about right now.
And and then he has a break for a minute. We can jump back to him. And
no, exactly. Because I was interested on how this
and we don't
guy gets his hemp.
Exactly. And we're going to go back to that. What we want to do is talk about you.
I can't reveal that.
Oh, that's
actually.
amazing.
Yeah. We want to talk about
I'm
you.
not telling you.
See, he's
Is
already...
it difficult to get the hemp?
No.
All right, that's all I wanted to know.
There you go.
And I can tell you exactly where to get it when you're ready.
See? It's not like some of you out there.
Yeah, we would keep it away from you. Okay, so you were driving down the road, minding your own business, when this giant sign came out.
Well, what's interesting is that in Colorado, for the past couple of years, they've had a very heavy campaign towards no deaths. So we've they've had a push towards zero. I mean, it's a completely unrealistic campaign in the long run. It's funny when they start it and like, midnight, January 1st, 12:01. There's already been a death. I understand why they're doing it, but it's been alcohol related for the past few years. Just 100% alcohol related. Talks about how many deaths on the road, and it doesn't. The weird thing is that it didn't really catch anybody's attention, and the guy that I talked to was super pissed off. Was frustrated in a way that we had got ticked off that now that they had brought cannabis into the mix that we were questioning it. So the sign usually says 174 deaths a year, don't drink and drive, or something like that. And I don't think anybody questions that or looks into it too much because alcohol is pretty bad when you drink and drive. It causes deaths. It's a horrible thing. But this sign that I saw the other day when I was driving down I-25 and looked up and it said, join the cannabis conversation, 74 deaths this year. And I lost it. I was like, what the f*** is this? I mean, I couldn't believe it. And so I thought about it for a minute. I watched the sign also to cycle through to make sure that it didn't say anything else or, it wasn't like trying to mislead people and, I missed something. And I didn't really miss anything. I mean, it said 74 deaths, join the cannabis conversation. So that to me sounds like, and anybody listening probably sounds like they're trying to pin 74 deaths on cannabis.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah, it's just, so I called CDOT immediately just to be a pain in the ass. I was like, all right, look, I'm not going to let these guys go. Doing JDR again, I wanted to get an answer from them directly on what their plan was with this, and the sign just...
Should have recorded it at least.
I know, and I'm explaining this in a horribly slow way, too.
Then we could have listened to it. It would have been great.
Yeah.
I got to listen to you.
I know, I was in the car driving to Boulder. So I called the guy, Mr. Cole. He's the safety head at the Colorado Department of Transportation, and he wasn't available immediately, and I left a message. The guy called me back, pretty much right away. I couldn't answer
That's impressive.
I couldn't answer the phone at that time, and then he called me back again another half an hour later. And I'd left him my information, told him who I was. He went and looked up my name on Facebook, saw a post that I had made, and then Googled something with the CDOT Colorado marijuana campaign, and then saw something that a post that had been put up in the Colorado Badge Network, which is kind of if you're an employee here in Colorado and have work in the weed industry, there's just a Facebook group for it, and tons of people were talking about it, and everybody had seen this sign, was just absolutely blown away that they would do this. So I first asked him, what's up with the wording? And he thought at first that maybe the people that had entered in the sign had typed it in incorrectly, abbreviated something, whatever. Either way, the way that they put it is just absolutely ridiculous. So at first he kind of thought it was typed wrong, got back with me and told me, no, this is absolutely right, that's the way that it was worded, and he didn't see why we had a problem with it. And I told him, well, let's talk about the numbers. In 2016, there's 71 deaths that they attribute that had something to do with cannabis. I'm good.
Sorry for that. What?
You smoke it yourself. All right. So there's 71 deaths in 2016 that had cannabis in their system that died on the highway. Because of that, they will say that cannabis caused those deaths. Period. End of story. They're not going to argue with you about it.
Mm-hmm. And did they say if those people had other things?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is that's what I explained to him. I told him, I was like, okay, for the sake of argument here, because I know we're going to have to agree to disagree on this situation, for the sake of argument, all those deaths weren't specifically cannabis related. There were alcohol related deaths, I'm sure, in there, maybe some drug related deaths. So to take cannabis and completely bastardize it and shove it into a category where there's, not even just one death, but you're putting 74 deaths onto this.
Well, and did you also explain that every single study that's ever been done on driving, which have always been a negative, they've been looking for a negative answer, have never gotten that negative answer. They've always had to sort of stick that study down underneath somewhere because only two things it ever did, and this is like multiple studies. Like they spent millions in Holland doing it. The American government came over there to do it there around 1993. And when they did it, it was like, okay, well, we have the evidence that it causes people to drive slower
Yeah.
and to miss more exits.
So that's the other part
I
of this.
swear to God, that was the actual fucking so, and it totally makes sense. It's exactly what I do when I drive. I drive slower. I look down. Holy shit! I'm doing 40 on the highway. Like that's more dangerous than going too fast. But that's my biggest problem is I'm going too slow and literally, yes, missing more exits. That's exactly what you do. You're like, oh, dude.
But here's the thing: you can't have
So
you can't have that conversation with anybody
Neither of those are deadly combinations either.
outside of this room or outside of our circle. You can't have this conversation with politicians. You can't have this conversation with police. You can't have this conversation with CDOT on a level of saying, hey, some people drive all right when they're high. Just as some people who take medication, prescription medication, they're fine with what they do. And it's even hard, and I even try to catch myself of drawing a bridge between those two because it's not. If with prescription medication, there are with some things, painkillers and other stuff that do crush your ability to pay attention, to be able to drive, operating heavy machinery. I know. I was listening back to my podcast from Friday, and just like I don't know what it is.
What are you doing?
Trumping it up. United Church.
You're going senile already, dude?
You stretch out the jaw more.
Oh, man. Alzheimer's.
Somebody's gonna have a payday with that one.
So
Alzheimer's.
I could interject. So
Yeah.
I'm new to the whole cannabis
Anytime.
thing. 2012 is when I moved out here.
Okay.
Had a lot of friends that were all over it back where I'm from. But I always notice that you have a local news channel that likes to lead with, oh my God, marijuana. And then later on in the article, they mentioned the alcohol, the
Heroin or something.
Yeah.
Oxys or something.
I mean, all kinds of other.
England does the same. England is always notorious for that. Like they always have these headlines like, "My son died from cannabis," and then you're like, "What?" And then you're
Actually, he died from heroin.
And he's like, "He died of heroin." Oh, no, but he started with cannabis. I'm like, that has nothing. Oh, come
Yeah.
on. That was
Someone
like-
hit him with a brick of cannabis and he fell out of the window. So
That's one way.
to see
That's not the other way.
That's one way. I mean, there is a story of guys who were smuggling hash and crashed, and then that was considered a cannabis death because there was like the whole load just crushed them. I mean, it's like
Channel 9 here locally is pretty good station. After they got Barkowitz in trouble, I mean, Barkowitz kind of also got himself into trouble too by allowing the police and the media inside of his house, but he was just trying to do good. Channel 7, Channel 4, the rest of them are pretty crappy when it comes down to the weed stories. And then Rocky Mountain News is a pain in the ass too because they write all these op-eds about how weed is bad and horrible and et cetera. And then when we disprove them, they don't apologize, and it's a pain in the ass. I'll read this post I wrote so I can fill you in completely on the whole situation. All right, I spoke with a public information person at CDOT. There was some discussion on whether the signs were written correctly, on how he directed them. It seems as they were written correctly. Explained to him the join the cannabis conversation. 47 traffic deaths. Sounds like you're attributing those deaths to marijuana.
so you're dyslexic too, is what you're trying to say.
I am too. Did I say 74? Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
I did that in an argument too. I had to change this thing. I felt like an idiot. But the point of the message that they were sending and what I was saying was true. And if he really wanted to, he could have nailed me on those details, but he didn't. He told me the signs were
Good
set
thing
up.
I wasn't in charge of CDOT. I'd fuck you up.
Oh, it is a good thing you're not in
Oh,
charge of CDOT with the way you
I
drive.
like Tim Martin. Oh yeah.
If everybody drove the way that you drove, we would all be in trouble. He told me the signs were set up in the same way they have done with the No Death campaign for the past 2 years, but that sign I saw and a few others, it just wasn't phrased the same as the other alcohol-related ones. Either way, I had a conversation with
I wouldn't
them.
even care if it said alcohol and drug-related driving deaths. Just drug, not cannabis.
That's what I told him, is that-
it could say drugged and drug. It could say 47 deaths occurred because of drinking and drugging or whatever,
Yeah.
and just word it so it's everything because we know it's not cannabis. We know that's the least of it.
Yeah.
And if they want to somehow people want to imply it in their mind drugs like cannabis is because then we can argue no, not like cannabis because cannabis is not a drug. Cannabis is sold legally in all these shops because this is like a freaking herb basically.
That's part of the problem of them saying this is that the people who know that this is absolutely ridiculous, but the people who don't, it skews education of what we're trying to do here in Colorado and the rollout of cannabis. I mean, it's just not factual. It's not right. It's part of the drug war campaign and the just say no to drug bullshit.
Did you see Trump came up with this cool idea?
Which one?
He's gonna start the drug war over again. He's like, that's a great
fuck
idea.
that.
He's like, you know what we gotta do? We gotta get tough.
Yeah, he's talking about the opioid crisis and not helping with the health side of it.
Wait a minute, what crisis?
The opioid crisis.
Okay, good. You almost murled that.
I did.
You did.
I did.
Narbed it up.
Would you just? You're gonna have to deal with it though. It's the JDR.
It's the mopioids.
The mopioids. But he wants to throw more people in jail.
I know.
Rather than go after
that's
the
his
health.
idea. I'm like, you fucking retard.
Yeah.
Dude. This guy.
That's
This
Well, you
guy-
saw Sessions' latest comment, right?
I don't know. It's
On the
obviously
war.
cannabis is.
Well, the opioid crisis is caused because those people
Yeah.
all tried marijuana first.
Yeah, he's on the most old rhetoric
Yeah.
that you could get. He's like literally like pulled out the 1985
The problem there-
playbook and like, all right, this is it. Just say no.
The problem for them though is that we're not in 1990 anymore, and them trying to push the drug war is only going to push out more legislators to go up against them. I mean, we actually have the backing, the balls, the representation in Washington now to not necessarily prevent it from happening anymore, but if it does happen, a crackdown comes in, you have Republicans, you have Democrats, people on both sides of the aisle that are willing to step in and try to put a stop to this because they understand how ridiculous it is to go back into this. The main thing is they don't want to see people's lives ruined with it. And I think you can start to put a face, separate faces to this drug war in Washington more. Because before it's like we're all pitched into the same thing. You know, you're heroin, meth addicted pothead who, you know, grows your wook dreads out. Whatever, you know. So that's been the problem for so long. And now that we do have representation, we have people like Jared Polis, you know, in Congress. We even have Cory Gardner, you know, standing up for cannabis rights. And he's a Republican. He didn't even vote for weed, but he's willing to stand up for cannabis rights, willing to stand up for the faces of people in this industry and people that are affected. I mean,
Well, the reality is like we have enough time now for people to have seen it not do those things that they thought it was
Yeah.
going to do. So it's like we have in Colorado. I mean, other places we're all in a kind of similar time frame as far as exposure. But when it comes to like, you know, we got bombarded with world exposure and the fucking were predictions of chaos and you know, just it was like nothing
happened.
ever happened.
Nothing
you know?
at all.
it worked.
And a bunch of money came in, and then the funny part was that the money came in, and then what we thought it was going to go to didn't happen. Instead of going to like when you say you're going to give money to schools, you think, oh,
a whole different story.
School's like a book, right? Books and stuff for the students, and the teachers are going to get more money or something like that. It's like, oh no, it's going to go to a construction company that builds schools. And you're like, all right, but don't we have like schools that need work right now?
And not only that, but today, an
and then a
independent
bunch of it
organization
disappeared too.
Yeah, well, I mean that's always happens.
Obviously.
Today specifically, an independent, or I think it was today, they came out with a report card for spending in Colorado for schools.
Oh, we were
And
25th.
They have an F, a failure, an F, and then everybody in the news report.
I thought it was a D-, but we got an F.
It's an F.
Wow.
They everybody on this news report too who was commenting was talking about how where's the weed money? Where's the weed money? It doesn't matter if you have the money sitting in front of you. Mm-hmm. If you spend it on 5 million cups of pudding when you needed to pay your rent.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. It didn't even go to anything that would have ever made sense to any of us because really, it literally went into a slush fund.
They are getting more
When
money.
do taxes ever go where they say they're going to go?
Once taxes get dropped in the general fund, you can kiss them goodbye. But here's the
it went
thing.
into like a certain, but it was based on literally on people who build schools. So I'm like, okay, that's awesome.
That's where the $40 million is going.
And
That's where the first $40 million is going. It's going towards school building, etc. The rest of it has slowly started to trickle.
Away.
Well, it was all.
Trickle away.
It all got dumped into the general fund. So it all got dumped into the general fund. So there's like, say, last year, $13 million got put in towards homelessness and helping fight that, and a few other things that Hickenlooper has done. There has been more money than the $40 million that's originally supposed to go every year to schools. That there's more money that's being pushed off to other things besides school construction, but. Just as the report came out today, they're not spending the money correctly, and just because you're getting more money doesn't mean you're doing well with it. So, The cool thing, though, about this whole thing, getting back to the conversation with CDOT, is that I did have an open conversation with this guy. And
Just because you work with Green Dot now, you're all pissed off?
CDOT,
Is that
no.
what happened?
No.
Is that like you just were like, CDOT?
Has nothing to do with it.
Green Dot, bro.
nothing to do with
You didn't
it.
even do
Keep
that?
smoking your joint there.
You did not flex on them at all?
No.
Come on.
I didn't even mention I was from Green Dot. Why would I do that?
Just because the dot. Because that's how far you would think. I think Tim Martin would be like, wait a minute, CDOT?
So he was worried about the fact that we were trying to fight a public safety program. That we were trying to say, look, you just stop doing this. This is bullshit. We don't want you to do this at all. And I explained to him, that's not the conversation. That's not what we were trying to do. We're not trying to shut you down from, saying don't smoke and drive, don't do this. That's not at all what we're trying to say. What the part that pisses us off is you attributing deaths that are probably alcohol related or anything else other than cannabis to our industry, to our community. And that pisses us off and it frustrates us because that's a lot of deaths. That's a lot of carnage. And if that were true, then we would see patterns of it, consistently. So he did say that he got a bunch of phone calls that day.
I bet he did.
So
So you have the number that people can call?
I
Say
can get it.
Just tell us the number. Let's get people calling. It doesn't even matter if you're from this state. Just call. Just call.
Hold on, I'll look it
If
up.
hundreds of people call and say you're full of shit, then they're going to take it down.
So there's ColoradoCannabisConvo.com is the site that he wanted me to send people to. ColoradoCannabisConvo.com.
So go there first, but don't do nothing. Then go straight to
There's a survey
What's his
on that site. Do not take the survey. Because today, for instance, they brought up the survey and how many people were answering that they drive while high. Just don't answer the survey. He's saying more than 50% of the people that are answering this, and it's obvious. And so maybe answer the survey
that's
honestly
good
and get them
because-
to realize that there's everybody on the road is freaking high. See, that's the thing. He says 74 people died. 76 people died. His number is 76 total in the past, I think, year and a half or whatever time frame he gave. 76 people high from cannabis that... I lost my train of thought there. God damn it.
crash.
It's the echo in
I
these headphones. It kind of throws me off.
Well, you don't know how to use headphones now?
No.
I thought
We
you
need a
were-
deader room. That's what it is. It's not Mark at all. Don't Mark, you're the
deader
man.
room.
Let's get some Hempcrete in here. That'll deaden the sound.
That will
I hate that. I just totally... I mean, it was like he was driving a dirt bike on a dirt road and then hit the jump and then there's just no ground floor.
Uh-oh. Is that what happened?
There's no landing,
You
nothing.
have
It just
no idea where
disappeared.
should we bring you back to where you were? We could do it. I think between this whole room, we might have figured out where your conversation sort of ended.
I was going to say something important, but I forgot. Everything I have to say is important.
That was it?
Damn it.
That was your big point?
Anyway, the ColoradoCannabisConvo.com. Don't go to
There
that
you go.
site and take the survey. They're going to use it
He
against you.
said 76, and you were like, bullshit. And then you
Yeah.
pulled out a samurai sword, is what I thought you said. Isn't that what happened?
No.
And then you were swinging it around the office, and they came and took you out in fucking the straight.
I try to stay on
I thought that's what
message
happened.
when I come in here and talk with you, and it's already hard enough for me to stay focused. Number one, and then two, you have Adam in here trying
I
to
would
throw
have
things
assumed
in.
there was a samurai sword involved because
was.
Always.
usually when people get pissed off.
Well, look, it's the same thing
at
every
CDOT,
time.
It's like, what else are you going to go in there with? You can't go with a gun because you'll get really taken.
Here's another number too: 12% of traffic deaths. They say total. 12% of traffic deaths are cannabis related.
That is bullshit.
That's the number they gave today on the news.
That's because people were on the way to get weed, and they happened to crash, and so they're counting them as cannabis deaths.
Yeah,
That's the only
exactly.
way. That's the only
And-
correlation they could put in any of this. It's stupid.
I mean, it's like Sessions. Everything that comes out of his mouth is bullshit.
Oh, I
so-
remember what I was going to say. So if you continuously
got
lie to these people, you continuously lie to people about cannabis, whatever it is, it's just like telling a kid that, weed is bad, and then, they go smoke weed and it's not bad, and you told them heroin was bad, and they're like, oh, well, you told me weed was bad too, so maybe I'm going to try heroin. There are stupid people out there that are 100% like that, that just can't make decisions for themselves, think from what the media tells them, think what a road sign is going to tell them. It's just not responsible in any way, shape, or form
Well, it's ironic
in an educational
it's
way.
ironic because pretty much about 85% of every roadway that I've seen in Colorado is sponsored by a dispensary. Like,
Oh, yeah, they all are.
Like, there's nothing. So it's like, okay.
And that was done on purpose.
So you're gonna let them sponsor all these things, and then you're gonna put that up there, and it's like such a mixed message on that idea where it's like, okay, hey, come on down to our spot. Well, actually, you might die because you're high. No, you shouldn't even drive.
It's that little contingency. I went to a bunch of stuff at the Capitol when they were for patients' rights and all that. It's that little contingent of people that are so anti-weed that no matter what, they're just going to keep saying. It's like, hey, your house is on fire. No, it's not. I'm just going to stand right in the middle. It's not on fire. Get out of here. It's not on fire.
No, you're so
and
right.
They're just going to keep doing it. So what our job is to educate the people who don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they're not going to quit. I mean, there's so many entities
And that's
out
why it's
there.
important that that sign not say that, dude. And like, the thing with,
So what are we doing? We're gonna go burn it.
I did have a
Burn the sign.
See, I did talk to him about what alternatively they could put. Like, they need to add at least total on there.
Somebody needs to
74 traffic decks total this
Someone
year.
needs to be really high and crash into that thing. Is what needs to happen. That would be
No, you're not gonna.
that
you're
would
gonna
be dope.
die.
That would be dope.
I don't think you could knock over those signs. This is a pretty big ass
Like a
metal.
really high dude in a concrete truck needs to slam into that sign and just be like, "What, bro?"
There's like
I was
10
so
of them
high."
all over the
doing
state.
dabs while he's doing dabs, like driving with his
Jesus
foot.
Christ.
Like, that would be
don't
perfect.
do that. Don't do that. That'd be horrible.
Hire somebody.
That'd be horrible.
Come on.
So where's this? Speaking of people lying, where's this lawsuit out with this 12-year-old that's supposed to be suing Sessions?
I
Is
thought
that
it was-
a real thing?
It is, but it was. I mean,
Because he just keeps getting worse and worse with his ancient rhetoric.
I know, and the funny thing is, I thought it was supposed to happen like a couple days ago, but then apparently it's not until the 14th or the 12th or something like that.
Because what I so badly want to happen is I want them to be on trial and then try to espouse all that bullshit that they're always talking about and prove it with science. Because
they can't. We know
They don't
they
have
did
to.
it.
They don't have to prove it with science in trial, though. They just have to say it. That's the thing, is they get away with it by just saying it. They don't need any proof.
Well,
if
it depends on the trial. And
yeah,
it
if it's
depends
with
on
the jury, I think they need something to back up what they're saying. Otherwise, I mean, because the 12-year-old's
No, I
coming
get it. I get it
fully
completely.
armed,
But the thing
And
is,
she's real smart too. Which is
if
dope,
there's
so
anything the government is good at,
it's
Denial.
litigating you.
Well, but it's also like it's kind of funny because the kid thing is going to fuck them up. It's like you can do that to an adult, and they can kind of like just railroad your ass. But when there's a kid involved, and the kid's sick, and the kid's smart, that's like a fucking three-way punch, dude. They're gonna knock. I hope that it doesn't get like somehow sidetracked or just whatever, because at the base of it should be a fucking wipe down. She should just go in there and wipe his ass. Wipe the floor with that fucker by his ears,
Well, hopefully the attorney, if I came out, I was like, okay, Mr. Sessions, you said that cannabis, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
How do you know that? Why do you know that? Why do you say that? I mean, make him prove it right on the spot.
Well, the parents of the thousands of kids who died.
He could start out with, does this 12-year-old look like a good person? Because
Right.
guess what?
Right.
She uses cannabis.
Oh, but I didn't mean that.
I didn't mean her.
Yeah, no, he is. I can't believe he's actually still in there. It's one of those things where the fact that he recanted on the fucking Russia thing, he should have been fired a long time ago. So it's just crazy he hung in there. But for the most part, every single bit of information that comes out of that guy's mouth about cannabis is completely and utterly wrong. And it's like, wow, dude, no. And the connection of opioids and cannabis is like the opposite. We're like,
Where this change is going to happen, though, is from these legislators, these people. Now I can't even hear myself at all.
oh, now? How about
You're
now?
fine. So where it's going to happen is like people like Jared Polis, as I mentioned, and as they continuously Sessions pushes back against this, we're going to have awesome legislators in Washington that are going to create legislation pushing back on this and creating new rules. It's the frustrating part is that in the court of law, in
Crazy.
not even necessarily public opinion, but across the board, they just spout so much bullshit and lie, and they can do it and get away with it that I have no confidence at all inside of courtroom, inside of if they have a group of people together, then it's over. It's just over because you can't what we're talking about with this CDOT. You can't argue public safety with anybody. You can't talk to some of these people who are arguing you. What about the kids? There's just not an argument for them on that. They're not going to change their mindset, and the only thing that's going to change what they're doing is a person at equal or greater value to them of power coming in and just null and voiding their opinion or getting them completely out of office.
Yeah, but do you know the argument where people say well, I believe in God. Well, you can't prove God exists. You can't prove that he doesn't. You can prove that cannabis has killed no one, and they can't prove that it's killed anybody. I mean, there's actually.
But then they
I
lie
gotta
to
go
you,
with the
though.
body. Well, they can lie, but they got to convince the jury. I mean,
Just like that sign. I mean, that's the thing. It's just like the sign. If you get a bunch of people in a room talking about cannabis deaths and, like, say you have a public hearing at the state capitol and you have 20 people show up, and there's, 5 people that are pro-cannabis on this panel. You could have every single one of those 20 people talking about how cannabis is not dangerous, it doesn't cause traffic deaths, this and this and this and this. Maybe that 21st person that walks in is a soccer mom. And she says, I don't want my kid to be run over by somebody that's high right out in front of my house. Turns around and walks away. That's it. It's over at that point. There's no more discussion that can be had. Those people up there, they want to keep their jobs. They want to stay voted in. They're not going to fight you. They're not even going to have the discussion. That's the frustrating part.
Well, the hard part is it's kind of like when, back in high school or something, when you just didn't realize, like, until you got into the office that you had no chance, and you had a fucking snowball's chance in hell that you're getting at anything.
Yeah.
You had all these ideas in your head. You're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna tell them this, and I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna do that, and it's like the minute you're in their fucking zone, and it's sort of the same thing in just a bigger spectrum. It's like, it's like you go in and you don't know their protocol 100% unless you pay a lawyer, and the lawyer fucking goes in for you and talks. You might, if you pay your way out of it, that's the thing about America. It's just pay to play. You know what I mean? In every way, shape, and form. So if you have enough money, you can pretty much send a lawyer in, he can talk for you, and you probably get out of it. The minute you open your mouth, you're done. You know what I mean?
But here's the thing, too. And here's the thing, too, though.
Unless you just sit around and study law all day, which is so apparently, some people do that.
So here's the thing, too, though. That specific argument of public safety, that's one argument that they won't really budge on. But almost everything else, though, it's not having to do with public safety. When I was a news reporter, I would go to these county commissioners meetings. The county commissioners are some of the most powerful people anywhere. They control the money, basically. And they would try, say, making a rule for water rights or whatever it was. It would maybe affect this guy's farm or that guy's farm or whatever. 90% of the people that this affects are not going to show up. They don't care. They don't think that they're going to be able to make a change. But there were so many times that the one guy showed up at his county commissioners meeting or a city council meeting or whatever it was, sat down with these people, had a legitimate discussion with them, and they changed rules because of that one person showing up and showing care, or showing care for another person, or whatever it is. And I think that's one of the most surprising things in politics and in being an activist and reform that there is, that you can actually do change by just showing up. Mm-hmm. It's harder to go to the state capitol or to go to the Denver City Council meetings and do this because there's a lot more people that are showing up. I mean, just because you show up in a spot and you give your voice, if you're that one person, they may listen to you. But if there's 5 other people against what you have to say, obviously they're not going to listen to that.
Well,
so
if they do it like all the cannabis ones here at the Capitol, they're like, okay, we're gonna do it like the very, very end of the end when everybody's like so tired. They're like, okay, it's 11:30, you guys do it. And like no one's here, no one's left.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then they don't listen to you, nothing.
But it's not even the big hearings that we need to go to, and it sucks. I sit here and I say this. And I
never go to any.
And I feel horrible because I don't go to them anymore because we work. People work. We hire these people, politicians. We put them in office to do a job for us because we go to work and we have things to do. We can't spend all our day trying to hammer these things out. So it does suck. It does suck that we can't do that. But there is that opportunity to show up. It's the smaller meetings. It's the first meeting that they have. He's just ripping the shit out of that as he's laughing. I saw him out of the corner of my eye just watching you rip that.
I would be dead right now if I had
trying to.
I'll do it for you guys. Don't worry. You don't like that.
But like the smaller meetings, if it's like the first hearing, the first round of talks, those are some of the most important because that's when those people that are holding these meetings on the councils or whatever, that's when they're open to listening, and even behind closed doors, sitting down and scheduling a meeting with some of these people is something you can do. Say the CDOT guy, calling him up and having a legitimate conversation with him is possible. So It's cool. He did get a little bit.
Well, how are we gonna
touchy.
do? So what are we gonna do? We gotta hack the sign.
We do have
obviously.
to wait, I'm not going to say that because
It's all gonna. It's coming back to you anyway.
Somebody
You're
will
the
hack
guy.
the sign
Who
and
called,
get
you're the
back
guy
to
who
it.
called and bitched. So you're gonna be the first guy they're going to.
They're going to
So-
see that sign and they're going to go.
And all I'm doing is
"Fucking
saying,
Tim."
if somebody out there can hack fucking C-Dot signs, this is a perfect
be
one
funny.
to do. Oh, it'll be great.
The problem is you
where's
can't
it
hack 'em.
Where's it located exactly?
Well, the problem is like they're huge, massive
Of course
signs.
you can hack them.
I don't know if they have controllers on them.
Everything is hackable.
Yeah, I'm sure. I know it's hackable,
Yes.
but I think you change it from a CDOT computer at CDOT. I don't know if you can actually plug into the sign and change it.
Mainframe, bitches. I already look. See, Josh is on it over there. He's already.
Somebody can do it.
He's got it. He's already deep in.
Well, look, I'm still optimistic that Sessions is going to be going to court, not just a regular hearing, because the hearings are crapshoot.
Yeah.
I've seen them. The people that are pro, whatever, law enforcement that are anti-cannabis, they're going to vote that way no matter what anybody walks in and says. I've seen them all be like, "Oh, well, that's a great story, hun," and then
Yeah,
fuck
that's the
you
perfect.
guys, you know, and then
that's the
they're
perfect,
done.
Perfect description.
It's just whatever way they're going to go.
Yeah,
but
It's
at
always
least
that
this will be
lady.
a
It's
trial.
that
That's
hun,
what I'm
it's
excited.
that hun kind of
Yeah.
lady. They're the worst.
Yeah.
Hey, that's really cute.
Tony Baloney says 45 minutes of sign talk. I know, it is fantastic.
Well,
that guy's
that's-
my best fan.
that's all
he's my
That's
biggest
Tim's
fan.
fault.
You tell. Yeah. Well,
I was talking
we'll-
about Hempcrete and then.
Oh yeah,
signs.
Hempcrete, Schmempcrete.
I was ready to continue the
I was just-
Hempcrete conversation.
Hey, we like talking about signs.
And it's
bro.
not just about signs.
It's about everything.
We can make
bro.
the signs
about
out of
everything, man.
Hempcrete.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Perfect. All right. So
Farking couches.
Ask your couch farking question that you were going to ask him if you can remember.
Well,
that.
he already explained that, it's not.
Oh, it's cheap.
I was curious about.
That's all you cared about. How much it costs?
No, how much. That's not where I ended with. I asked him about the access,
Okay.
if you were paying attention.
There aren't a lot of companies that are selling hemp that I know of. I mean, I've tried to call a couple early on, and they never answer their phone. But Old Dominion is where we got all the hemp from, and they're like that.
How much hemp does it take to build one of those blocks?
That's a good question.
There's a
Depends how big your-
it's kind of a density issue too, because you can kind of play with it a little bit.
So when they sell
What's
you
it?
the bales are 4.5 cubic feet. So you got to figure out what size, how much volume your block's going to have. Figure out how much hemp you're going to need by weight, and then how much binder you're going to need. So that's what I do. Usually, if I have a cubic foot, say like I've got 800 cubic feet, you divide that by 4.5, and it'll tell you how many bags you need. Then multiply that times 33 pounds. It'll tell you how much weight that's going to be.
It's too much, man.
it all went way past him. I was watching the words go around his head. They're just.
I
like,
mean,
nothing
I
went
got,
into.
I got
nothing
the,
sunk.
I got the gist of it.
Nah,
Yeah.
it
gist
bounced
of it.
right off.
But
you.
anyway, so what we did is for these the two houses we're going to build, we just called Old Dominion, ordered it. It's here. You know what I mean? It'll be here that quick. And you can buy it by the container when you're doing a project that big. So it's 30, what is it? It's 15 tons in a container.
How much is 15 tons?
$13,000. And that's shipped, so it's a little more expensive than,
Yeah.
that's,
So 13,000 shipped.
yeah.
How much is the shipping?
Well, if you're going at 50 cents a pound, it'd probably be almost as much as the herd. 'Cause
Jeez,
15
that's the
tons would
problem.
be 7.5 tons of herd.
Yeah, well, that's the
I
fun.
mean,
wow.
That is the fun
Cost
part
of-
about hemp in general, though, is that you start to get into tonnage and you start to get into like, numbers that perk other people's ears up because they're like, ooh, even though, because with cannabis, it's always like, yeah, we are getting towards the tonnage, but it's like, when you do a ton a year, that's already like, whoa, that's a lot. You know what I mean? Yeah. But when you start doing hemp fields, it's like train loads. You know what I mean? How many train loads? we
Yeah.
got?
Right.
I mean, it's gonna be fascinating someday we will have massive hemp fields again. I mean, World War II type situation of
Well, that's the cool part is like no one's really applying that too much yet. There's a few people getting close, but like even when they're we're growing what they think is close, it's still like the density's not even close to what we would need for fiber.
Can you imagine if we were still using hemp for the military and all the 10 to 13 illegal engagements we're involved in right now? We could be selling a lot of hemp.
Yeah. Well,
It's-
we buy from right now from China. It's over $1 billion. You know what I mean? We're doing $1 billion plus a year in imports.
Sure.
And that's all money going to China for nothing. And but the crazy part is as everything gets scaled up, it's like we're on this like weird race where like when I was growing up, $1 million was a lot of money.
yeah.
Now $1 million is like nothing. It's a down payment on something or whatever. There's like million. You have to say 100 million to get like certain people's ears.
That's a half-ass house in Denver.
$1
million.
So you say 100 million, and the weird part is like only 2 or 3 years ago, 100 million in my mind was a lot of money. But now I sit in and just listen to conversations, and it's very normal to talk in billions now. You know what I mean? And just because the projections, and it's not real. I mean, it's not like my friends are sitting on billions or anybody we know has billions, but the potentials are there, and people aren't so scared to say it, and they're kind of on this thing like, oh yeah, $1 billion, yeah, like 2 billion, 2.2 billion, and you're like, okay, so by the time, and it's going such a hyper speed that like because we're about to maybe hit a situation where everybody's broke, right, and there's no more money because everybody's fucking. It's going to be like stock market crash. Everyone's got their money in cryptos. They don't even know how to spend them. Nobody knows how to buy anything. People.
The weed industry is going to go broke because the price of weed's falling.
We're going to have no matter what, there's going to be a financial situation of some sort, whether it's going to be a renaissance of people being able to control their own money, or is it going to be a disaster where we're just Dust Bowl in the fucking situation and we're all like, there's nothing to go on. Because the thing is that a lot of us banked on weed, right? Everybody's banking on weed. Pretty much everybody I know is banking on weed, but we're also looking at it like a boat sailing away. Like we're like, oh, that was my ride right there. That fucking boat that's already.
No, we're still on the first round of like sacrificing ourselves. This be another generation or two.
Well,
to
the
come.
thing is, it's like there's only so many boats that are going to set sail, right? And those are like everybody thinks they're going to make it. Everybody thinks they're special. Everybody's like, oh, but I have such a special situation. And it's like, not really, because everybody, I mean, we all think we do. I think I do, but at the end of the day, I meet people later. I'm like, well, I guess, yeah. We all kind of took, we either sacrificed a lot, got busted or along the way, or lost things, tons of money along the way, or whatever, or dealt with bullshit for 20 plus years. And so we all think we deserve the fucking piece of the pie. Blah, we're getting it. But you can't all have it, right? Because there's only so much. So
it's gonna be the ones that they're smooth enough and work hard enough to get it.
I watched a zillion things go like for me, it's like, oh, fuck it. I'd rather not get involved and not have to see oh yeah, we're going to do it. It's going to be the greatest thing ever. What Ferrari are you getting? I'm getting a helicopter. And then like, dude, could you pay your rent? Oh, we got no money. That's been the game forever. You know what I mean? It's like, and it gets more and more because now, everybody's selling isolate. Dude, they're calculating billions and millions. How much you need? I need 1,000 kilos. And
but nobody's selling that.
You're like, there isn't even 1,000 kilos around, guys. Everybody's kicking the fucking tires. So there's like 9 guys walking around trying to get everybody riled up.
Well, that's a big conversation online right now between a few people is like who's actually completing these 1,000 kilo CBD deals. They would gain you like $100,000 if you were the one brokering it at 10 cents. Nobody's completing those deals. It's not happening.
Well, I mean, there's a few, and I know a couple, but at the same thing, come to me. No, I'm just kidding.
But that's very few and far
I'm
between.
the only guy, bro. It's all me, bro. No, I have watched, and I've literally gotten to the point where I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm not even going to listen anymore because it's such a funny thing. It's like now it's gotten like where, I pick up the phone and it's like, family members are like, you heard of this isolate? I'm like, all right, it's over. Click. It's like Facebook, it's like Facebook or something where kids don't want to do it because their parents do it. Isolate's the same where it's
I don't like having conversations like that.
It's gotten to the point where everybody's heard these crazy numbers and everybody's like, oh, dude, I can do this and I can do that. Well, what they want, everybody wants it for like $4 something, you know what I mean? And it's like, that ain't gonna happen.
What are you talking about, $4? Yeah.
Everybody wants it in the 4 range.
Below 5.
Below 5, of course. That's the magic number. Below 5. I need 1,000 a week, and you're like.
But it's gonna hit that. It's going that direction, dude. It's drawing.
That's the problem. Is don't you think that this is
the concentrate market is dropping? The bottom is falling out of every market right now.
Well, I know fresh frozen is just like people got freezers full of fresh frozen.
They do
in Colorado. They're just like
they do.
If the power goes out in Colorado, the fucking fresh frozen market is going to be like, come take it now. You have about 3 hours.
This is like the diamond mines, man. They just go dry.
Yeah, so it is literally like people have fucking freezers full of shit right now.
But I think part of this is also not only just the building up of supply and kind of where you were headed with this, but it's also the anticipation of everything coming online. Of California alone. Mm-hmm. Man, I talked to Dredd yesterday and saw him post up that's all there is greenhouses where he's at, and none of them have come online yet because they haven't been licensed. Yeah. As soon as those start to come online, I mean, Oregon, $50 pounds of trim and larf being sold off to concentrate makers. $50 a pound. Mm-hmm. I thought it was bullshit.
No.
I looked into this.
But it's here too. Same thing in the
But it's not as bad. It's not 50 a pound here.
Well, there's times when you can get pounds for 50 in the of trim in the industry.
But that's what
people
you're
have
gonna
sitting on a bunch shitload, and it won't be the good trim, of course.
But because the shatter market,
But I know
because
people-
what you make from that, there's no price in it anymore. You can't get 20 bucks a gram for shatter anymore.
No.
People are giving it away.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that's now happening to the live resin market, and there's not another product. There's not another product after live resin that can add another tier. So it's just going to cascade down, man.
The problem
Flour
with-
and concentrate.
And the biggest problem has always been with all concentrates is the lifespan of them, because they don't.
It's getting better.
It's getting better,
But
but
live resin stable decently, and it's better.
live resin is. a
It's
good
the quality, the flour quality. is where,
Live resin, you can kind of like give it a sort of, give it a sort of free card where it's like it can change because it's live, and then you got to know that, and you got to keep it in sort of the right conditions. But for the most part, even back in the day when people first started making bubble hash,
I was talking about full spectrum FSC,
I'm just
not
telling
talking
you,
about live.
I'm just saying
shatter
all
right
hash in general. The minute you process it in any way, shape, or form, whether it's be water, whether when you have it in dry, like if you dry sieve it and leave it in powder form, you can fucking sit on that shit forever, and then you can take it and work with it later. But the minute you either press it, with water, you've already gone too far. You know what I mean? That shit is already like changing and degrading.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard to fucking keep it. So it's almost like that's like, oh, here, take it. Okay, don't give you backsies, because it's
You end up
literally
with a black rock hard piece of ash.
Sure, and that's what's kind of like the biggest problem with a lot of people here is they don't know how to handle resin for long because they just get it, they make it, and they
No,
move
you're
it.
right. You're right.
And
The
now it's
quality
getting
of
to
the
that-
product.
And now it's getting to the point where it's all backing up. People are sitting on 100 pounds, 200 pounds. I know people talk to people 600 pounds, 800 pounds. It's like, oh, what are we going to do? It's like, you got 800 pounds and you've got more weed coming down.
This dude has said he had 45,000 pounds to get rid of earlier.
Who?
45,000 pounds.
Where?
I'll show you.
I'll show you.
I have to look it up.
I'll show
But
you.
dude, it's yeah.
In the system here, you're talking about.
Cali.
Okay, Cali. Yeah, that's, I mean, just
But it wouldn't surprise me if we were here too. Los Sueños Farms probably had. Well, I don't know about that. I don't know about 45,000. I honestly don't know the number that I would throw at them.
Well, the deal is.
But it's not crazy to think that that's a high number
And what's
or a
happening,
low number.
Well, what's happening now, and you see it also, which is interesting, is like it's gotten to that point where people are like, you saw us. We talked to our buddy Steve, and he's fucking getting crushed there. You know what I mean? Because people are going around doing $300 pounds, and
It hurts to hear those stories.
and knocking everybody out. Where it's like, oh, we'll take a loss for 2 years just to fucking be in control of the entire dead market that's going to be there, because they're
That's
going to
bullshit.
they're created such a low expect. I mean, I feel bad because I don't know what people do with all the shitty weed, because it's like what
What do they do with it? They sell it in the store.
yeah, but I mean, who's buying that crap? Because it's just like,
It sucks everybody, dude. 99% of the people that buy weed don't care what they're buying. They don't care what they're smoking out of. 95, let's just say that. Give a 5% heady range there.
that's
But it's
sad. That's
it is sad. It is sad. And I was going to mention something earlier about there was something that I was going to tie in with the quality.
how we should go into your mind.
There's no good weed out there. I mean, there's not. Number one, people were not growing great weed in the first place. And I'm sorry if you're growing great weed. There's a few spots that do. But for the majority, nobody's growing great weed. And with the prices going to where they're at now, especially with like Steve and other people that I hear here, California, Oregon, the incentive for them to grow great weed is slipping away. I mean, you have people that have been that have been on the top, growing the best weed since I don't know, who knows how long, but definitely here recently since the cups started happening. Have won cups, and they're not making any money. They're not staying in the game. These are people
Well,
that you thought would be lifers.
I went to some places recently and saw like weed that was well grown, hand trimmed. But the trim they were still getting $4.75 a pound for their trim, but they're only getting. People were offering them like 1,000 max for their bud, and even though their bud was well trimmed and nice, and
Yeah.
So you're like, wow, you're literally only, and because the high quality trim market is so tight that people are paying top dollar for that.
I don't even know how you can sell trim anymore. If you're making hash out of trim now, dear God, I feel sorry for whoever's buying your shees. You should be doing that for free at this point. I mean,
Well, and at $1,000 a pound, if you're paying $4.75 for the trim, you just have to do a test and see if you're doubling up on your weight. Cause
I can't pay.
I would think it would be.
I can't pay $1,000 for. I can't pay $1,000 for half-ass mids, man. And I mean that's.
Wouldn't that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It was good.
It sucks that.
But it's just crazy because it's like one of those things where, again, everybody's kind of banking on this thing, and the biggest problem with Colorado is there's only 5 million people, whatever. So it's like and there's tourists for sure, but they're not like they are if you're in, a real heavy tourist-laden place where it just crushes every day. Like that's what Amsterdam survived on. It was not about the locals. It was always tourists. Like all the tourists come in, and the problem is that they haven't been very welcoming in Denver and having a good system. So pretty much, people come
More welcoming than they have been in Amsterdam recently.
Yeah, I mean, but Amsterdam still grinds away. They still have their shops, and they still never stopped, and it's been 30-plus years.
Colorado's been welcoming. Yeah. They've been welcoming, man.
I mean, not really.
We've changed.
I'd hate to come here and fucking have to be like, so what do we mean you can't smoke anywhere? Where are you going to go?
Well, that's the biggest thing by far. I will give you that.
We got to go on the Looper bus.
This is the number one issue. And that is the number one issue that we should have solved at this point to integrate everything into the mix.
And if they built them out of Hempcrete, we could have tied it all in on this one fucking show, and it would have been perfect. But instead, we're all over the place.
There is one cannabis spa that did apply this week. There's one place that had.
Was that the vape only place though?
I don't think so. The vape only.
Yeah, it was a vape.
There's one next to the Capitol is where it's going to be. I don't think it was
vape
talking about.
So vape only and edibles. I was like, what the fuck? I could do that at the supermarket, dude. I can go to the supermarket.
This is a spa.
Do a vape pen and eat an edible in the fucking. No one's gonna say anything, are they?
This is a spa and a yoga place over by the Capitol that they were the first ones to apply for the social use permit, legitimately apply with a completed application and turn it in. The first ones, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks so bad that the rules are so restrictive and the zoning is absolutely so restrictive that nobody's even trying to apply for it. 0 people. So if Vegas can pull this off, the social use situation, Vegas can pull it off, bring it to Denver, that would be awesome. Cali.
Well, that's the exact opposite
social
of what
use is not going to happen in
original.
Cali.
That's the exact opposite of what the whole thing. The reason that they didn't do it was because they were waiting for us to do it, and then we.
Yeah, everybody's been. Yeah, everybody's waiting for the other person to do it. And see, here in Colorado, we're a home rule state, so we're waiting for, say, Littleton, Englewood, Denver, somebody to create a plan and then bring it to the state capitol. And pass it. And that's just not going to happen. The state is actually going to have to pass something on this. And they don't like doing that. And California's smoking rules are going to prevent.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to say it's not going to happen because I want this to happen more than anything. This will move forward I don't know. What's the word I want to use? Who we are, our culture, so much. It's the number one thing that I can think of, besides just obviously legalization. Having social use facilities, places where people can go hang out.
Well, I mean,
Cali's the one thing that's missing.
Cali's been breaking that rule forever. And
kind of, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But they're going to be. It's going to get worse though. Those were kind of like speakeasy, and they'll still be speakeasies. But now that things are starting to become licensed more,
but they let you smoke in their so-called dispensaries or whatever.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen anymore.
I'm saying they're pretty good at breaking rules.
Yeah.
So they'll be, at least people will be smart enough to be like, oh, well, I'll just take I'll be in the strip mall. So we're in a strip mall. We'll take that other fucking shop when it opens up, and we'll turn it into a fucking head shop / hangout weed. I mean, that's the Cali thing. They're gonna always there's too many people there, and that's the difference. Is like Cali has the ability to like crush because they have numbers. We don't have those numbers, but they have so much competition, and they have more people than we have that really think that they're gonna fucking make it. On top of, we've already seen the shakeout.
They've got 50 times more people,
and they're gonna have the shakeout both ways, where it's gonna be like still gonna be a couple of guys who are gonna come in with big money and just buy everybody up, just like they did over here, and they're gonna take up all the weak people, turn them into their little chain, and then so the first year there's gonna be a shitload of small ones that are all gonna fuck up, and then there'll be half as many the next year, half as many the year after that. Same number of shops, but half as many companies because they'll be.
It's going to
turn it into like 5 different big guys.
The consolidation that happened here, and is continuously happening here. Say Native Roots buying up everybody, and Live Well buying up everybody. Exactly. That's the same thing. That's gonna happen out there. It's going to be
faster.
A minute.
Yeah, no, we'll go faster than here.
It will go faster because
it'll be 1 year, and it'll be like boom. There's no way I can compete because you'll be like, what?
But if you have to have the infrastructure to set up, if you set up the infrastructure, you'll be able to sell it off. If you have 5 greenhouses, say you can't grow weed for shit, you're going to be able to sell that to somebody the next year and have them buy it, and they'll turn it over. And it's crazy. And then we talk about the whole other side of, we forget that people still want to buy cheap weed sometimes too. So in all this that we're talking about, it's a business sense. It's a success of the industry and success of the companies that help make this work. And if those companies can't make it work, they can't operate, they can't make money, then our whole system kind of falls and goes away. But there is the whole other argument of that, yeah, I want to go in and buy a pound of weed myself for $20, you know, or whatever.
$20 a pound.
I said some crazy number because that's how crazy the numbers are getting. I want to go buy a gram of hash for $5. You know, I want an eighth for $5 or whatever it is. I understand the argument for those prices, but at the same time, the vacuum that's created by other states that pulls the weed and the money and creates the inflated crime situation, inflates it's just all this plays in until we can get a handle of legalization across the board and take away that artificial inflation for weed, allow companies to take off federal taxes, you know, to deductions and stuff like that. Financially, it's hard to get down to that level where consumers are super happy with what they're buying and what the cost of it is.
I think everybody will take it in the ass the first year because that's just they want to do it. You know what I mean? Whatever you say, we'll do it. And they're going to throw money at it.
That's how the rules end up getting shitty is because there's people that are like, I'll bend over for you. Just let me do it.
I mean, anybody right now will do anything to get those licenses. And then within a year, they'll get like fucking sold out between each other, and people realize they bit off more than they can chew, or they're fucking like, what the fuck am I doing?
It's a lot harder to stop the momentum in Cali too once they get an idea in their head. I mean, here you have a centered location where, you know, if 500 people need to show up, they maybe show up and it'll stop it. In Cali, it's just like a steamroller. They get an idea.
Well, the difference too is that the difference too is we again have the politics of Northern California, Southern California, the vibes, the differences. Everybody's different. Northern Cal is all grower mentality, and Southern California is all consumer mentality and distributor mentality. So it's like they still have to produce it. You know what I mean? So there's still producers, but there's, you know, and there's also a lot of, regulations that they haven't even. Because the thing about California is to get like an Apple, and has to go through more regulations, or to get a fucking car, anything for your car. It's always like California's like some little anywhere but California. You know what I mean? And then you're like, oh yeah, got to check into their regulations, and so they've already got that shit unlocked. Like as far as how do we overregulate something? Oh, we got that. You know. Then you mix cannabis into the mix, where you're like, oh,
dude, the water rights are going to become interesting
prices too. And the fucking bullshit that they can make up and
the nuts. Like there's nuts. What's macadamia? What's
nuts?
Almonds.
They grow a bunch of nuts in Cali.
A lot of different nuts.
The almonds were the ones causing
almonds.
the water shortage.
So there's like water rights issue with that. And just think now, when you start adding the cannabis companies in these areas that there's nothing, and now there's like 50 greenhouses in there. Water rights is a huge issue.
Central California is going to be the winner of the ag.
They're
the ag zone, so they're going to crush it. NorCal is going to be
unfortunately.
NorCal is going to get fucked because of the fact that they're not zoned correctly for a lot of stuff. So they're just going to have to take a different approach where it's going to be like, oh, let's cruise up to the Mendocino, do the run, you know, and you're going to drive through and see.
And then the state has no problem punching that Northern Cali farmer in the face and saying, "Fark you, we're taking your."
But when it comes to like once they are allowed to federally, you know, when you have a shop in Ohio and you can buy weed from California and you get it for $300 a pound or $400 a pound, and it's fucking, you know, it's $1 a gram or something, $454 a pound. Bam, you go. They're gonna get that, and it's gonna say from California, and people are gonna buy it because that's where you get good weed from, pretty much. And then there's gonna be some boutique local stuff, and that's gonna be all indoor and whatever. And the Cali bud will be all greenhouse and outdoor because there's no point of growing, you know, indoor weed up there.
Now I gotta wonder if the vineyards out there were 98% contaminated with glyphosate. I wonder what the weed's going to be like.
Oh, it's grown outdoor. I'm sure it will be. I mean, in that area, depending on, especially if it's taking places that already were growing it, for sure, and just spill over. And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. And unfortunately, you know, that's an issue where, I mean, it came from that area, so I'm pretty sure they're like the most Roundup ready spot.
All right.
Jeez. Well, you know what's interesting too is that now as the East Coast starts to come online, who's going to be the leader out there? You know, it's seeming like Massachusetts is going eventually going to be the one if they can figure out the rules there. On the
they're-
social
they're-
use side too,
they're
Maine
cool.
and Massachusetts are going to
Yeah.
fark the couch too. So Colorado is the only one. Colorado and Vegas are the only ones who stand a chance of passing social use right
Actually,
now.
Boston has some pretty interesting stuff. Massachusetts was talking like they were being like way more like, well, yeah, I guess yoga centers and this
Yeah.
and that. They were like naming stuff that I wasn't even thinking about. And then I was like thinking like at the end of the day, I was like, huh. I was like,
But I
wow.
don't think they're going to let it. Maine and Mass, they're both from recently. Maine for sure is not going to have it, and Massachusetts, I highly doubt that it will roll out within the next 2 years. Social use. But what were we talking before I
Well,
interrupted?
Maine
that?
is really awesome though, because Maine's kind of like they got a like much
They
more
have
chill.
Paul LePage.
Yeah, they have a cool vibe there too. Like everybody.
The governor's awful though,
Oh yeah,
isn't it? Maine.
Maine.
I don't know who the Maine's governor is.
I'm pretty sure that's him, and he's
Yeah.
terrible.
Oh, it is Paul LePage. Yeah. You are right. Yes, and that is.
You are right.
He's the one. It just hit my.
hit your brain.
I had a news article pop up in my head. Yeah, and he's the reason why that they're probably not going to allow social use and expansion of the program.
He'll be gone soon enough.
And they're not even going to have sales either. That's another thing too.
So
is
it's
that
all just homegrown.
it's. I don't want to be completely wrong, but yeah, I think for now that they pretty much stomped down on the whole thing because of the governor.
Well, look, if Illinois got medical, then
Well, they
things
should be
are
paying
happening,
attention
you know
to
what I'm saying?
Vermont, New Jersey. I mean, there's governors that are getting kicked out of office. Not kicked out of office. They're not getting reelected. And
They put all the
weed thing,
Illinois
and
governors in prison. That's where they
Yeah,
go
that's
right
the other
after
thing.
office is right to prison.
Well, you have in New Jersey and Vermont. I mean, you have governors that ran on legalization, and they're now in office. And the previous person in the spot was like anti-weed.
So let me ask you this: you're talking about the prices all taking a dive bomb. Would you rather see weed legal and have the price
Yeah.
nominalized to where it's just flat across the board? At least it's all legal, because that's what I'd.
Yeah,
I'd
that's what
rather-
it needs to get to. That's eventually what it needs
Well,
to be.
you know,
There's
And then,
not a,
and then you can survive based on your quality, just like everything
that's
else.
the only. That's a legitimate regulated market at that
I mean,
point.
they can't. I mean,
Yeah.
they can't tell you what you exactly have to do it, but I think that there has to be a kind of agreed on minimum more than anything, and it can go up from there. I mean, people can gouge all they want, if people want to pay it, go for it. I mean,
Well, it's just
that-
like buying
they
a
do.
Ferrari versus a Ford. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? If you've got weed that's that much, I don't know if you can compare those two.
Well, why
things,
would
but-
you
You
buy?
can, you can.
Why would you buy a half gram of terps for $120 in Cali? I
Right.
mean, it is happening in Cali. A lot of hash and a lot of those specialized things are double or more than the cost of what they are here.
And speaking of economics, I mean, do you see? So when people ask me, "Well, do you see the hemp market plateauing?" and I'm like, there's so many things you can make with it. I don't. I think it's going to overshadow the
way.
cannabis side by a mile.
by 10 times.
And then
Oh, yeah,
there's so many
yeah,
products
10
you
to
can
100
make. I
times.
don't see an end to. I mean, Jesus, graphene, right? Hemp graphene.
Yeah.
I
was
door
explaining that-
panels for BMW.
I was explaining
clothes.
that to George, and the thing is, like the door panels.
This
I
give
mean,
me
they
chills.
started doing that in like '95 or something like that. So it's like when I was there, they were already doing that. So that's
Well, the
already
Model
been,
T.
That's been like 12 years or 13 years in production. Haven't that it's amazing too, because when you see a BMW or a Mercedes, everything on it's all high tech, and then you open up the door panels and you realize, oh look, it's just hemp fibers, and they're
Right,
not even
right.
like, it's not like they're in some crazy form you can't identify them. It's like, no, those are
Yeah,
just
you
hemp,
can see 'em, yeah.
those are just hemp fibers, and so it has that perfect quality for sound dampening and all, and also when and if you crash, it doesn't shatter into any kind of sharp pieces because it's hemp, so that's like their safety issues on the reason why they use it is because it's safer. And it
So,
doesn't-
I remember hearing about the tax revenue for Colorado. What were the sales for?
for which
cannabis.
part? For cannabis last year? Tim, you're the machine right
Tens
there.
of
Cannabis
millions,
sales last
hundreds?
year were
We're over
1.3 billion.
Yeah, I was gonna say
think.
1.2
Okay.
or 1.3 billion.
So, and how much hemp do we import?
Oh,
hundreds of-
right now we're doing about about that much, about
billion.
From
about a billion
China
from
alone.
China. So yeah,
So
that's the whole
ima-
country. So I imagine.
Right. So I mean, we import this amount already. I mean, if we're growing this shit around the states, I mean the whole country, and then selling it for all these different projects,
Yeah.
I bet the numbers are going to skyrocket.
Oh, it hasn't even. I mean, we barely scratched the
Yeah, barely
surface,
scratched the surface.
and all those products that are coming in are like finished goods, like our clothing and stuff. So
Lotion, shoes.
mostly textile,
Soaps.
not so.
Well, like Dr. Bronner's, all that.
There-
There's all kinds of hemp soaps out there. Food is
Sure.
one of the big ones.
Sure, but
T-shirts.
It's pretty much
can eat
like
hemp?
it's pretty much like it's crazy. Like hemp twine is the #1 sold thing.
Really?
In all
Oh, yeah.
out of like by far.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, because it's just feeds. And it was funny. There was a time period where you're like, oh yeah, it's because everybody's wearing hemp shit. But like now you don't hardly see anybody. But it's still utilized a lot in those industries and in other, and other people. It might not be like the hot new thing in our world, you know what I mean? But like in general, there's always a new generation of people doing it, and then it's home craft, and it's all this. But it's weird. Like that was always the thing that threw me off because we were always doing finished goods. We didn't sell. We actually at our hemp store in Amsterdam. We always had hemp twine, and we would sell it to Americans who were traveling, who were like, "Yeah, I need some hemp twine," and then they're gonna like make some more bracelets on the road and make whatever. And it was like, but it was 90% plus Americans that were buying it from us. And then when I came back to here, I'd go to these hemp stores and talk to the guys. Like I talked to Mitch from the Hempist in Boston, and he's like, yeah, it's just like that's what we sell literally the most of, because it's like the small item that people are buying, but it adds up. You know what I mean? Like it turns into the behemoth. You know what I mean?
Well, I'd like to see, within the next 5 years, I'd like to see bags of hemp herd at Home Depot or some shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So you can walk
exactly.
in and buy construction grade materials.
Yep.
Made
I don't know
from
what
hemp
this-
in the U.S. and then just buy them.
Well,
right
like the
there.
hemp flax guys, they did it for horse bedding, and it was pretty much
Sure.
the same idea. And it was just horse bedding, and it was about twice as expensive as normal horse bedding, but it also lasted about twice as long too. So it was kind of like economical in the
itself
sense
out,
that it was
sure.
like you didn't have to change it out as quick because it didn't compress as easy, and it held its form, and it was insulating, and the horses liked it, and it was like it's kind of funny too because if you noticed how animals react to hemp, which is weird, like they seem to like remember like Dred's dog or something, right? You know, it's like you put your jacket down, boom, they lay on it. You know what I mean? Because it's like to them, they like it. It's weird. Like cats, I used to have I had a cat in my hemp store, and it was like every time I turn around, he'd be like laying on my fucking whatever I just folded up. I'd be like, you fucking cat. You know what I mean? And he'd be like, ooh, yeah, this is good. But hemp's really weird in that sense that it has that natural, like it definitely is pet friendly. And,
Sure. Well, and the thing I always tell people is like a lot of animals are allergic to straw, right? So that's why it makes such a great bedding.
Right.
And somebody was talking about cat litter.
yeah, they already did. They had hemp. They had a thing called, what's it called?
I did hear a
Hempy-
commercial
Hempy
about
cat or something.
coconut cat litter here today on the radio, and I
Yeah,
I thought
there's
immediately,
walnut.
I was like, I bet you could do that with him.
They did it. They did it in Europe, and it was God. I can't remember.
And once again, the clay-based stuff.
It was just like a pelletized. They just pelletized it.
Sure.
And then that way, when your cat peed in or whatever, it would expand a little bit. You know what I mean? And then you could kind of tell that it was being used. And so then you dumped it out, and it was definitely earthy. You know what I mean? It had that like it was like slightly green, little earthy vibe to it.
Sure.
But it worked good. I mean, it was definitely. It was
I can't find the number.
Super hippie.
I can't find the amount that we import.
Of what hemp
Yeah,
products?
I can't find the exact number. I
Well,
saw
I
something
like
that
to
said
say, but I thought it was
1.4
like-
million of something, and that
It was about
way too low.
1.2. It was about 1.2 and
1.4 million.
billion. No,
That's what I said is 1.4 million of something, and that number didn't seem right. So I was trying to look for the actual number.
Because it was about 400 million for the longest time. That was about the average, and then in the last say 5 years or so,
Yeah.
it keeps like doubling, and not doubling total, but like doubling in the new sales or whatever. So it's kind of it's compounded up to. I remember it was like 700 at one point, and then I believe it was around 1.2 billion. Which
Yeah.
again, like we were talking about earlier, billion's not a lot anymore. It's like, that's not so big. And that's the thing that's funny is like it doesn't matter how much money we make or inject into the system. It's always like poo-pooed as nothing anymore because back in the day when it was a lot, 1.2 billion, whatever. Now if you did that, it'd be like, dude, we've found more than that in an apartment. You know what I mean? Like it's just like there's guys stashing more than that. You know what I mean? We busted fucking cartel dudes with $3 billion. You know what I mean? So the numbers don't really shock anybody anymore. It's like a billion, a couple billion, 10 billion. So now we have to get up into the trillions before people are going to pay attention. Like it's $3 trillion, which just doesn't even comprehend because if you see like those pictures, like drawings of the amount of money it is, it's like a fucking quarter block or something. You know what I mean? You're like, holy shit.
It's all fake anyway.
This dude in the chat room asked, he's like, what terps do horses like?
Horse terps?
Sorry, I thought my phone was on silent there. He's like, what terps do horses like? And then this dude answered him, horses like Dutch weed.
Dutch weed.
That's all right.
Horse. Haze for horses.
Haze. They like haze.
Hey.
Like haze. But haze terps.
I had
Just without the Z. No zinger in there. No Z's.
I had a small voice on my shoulder remind me that I'm supposed to talk about our seminars.
Oh yeah, do that because we have time. We have like an hour to kill still. But
so the website is learnhempcrete.com, and we're Left Hand Hemp on Facebook, and we've got basically we're going to do 2 weeks per house that people can sign up for a week at a time. There's an early bird special if you sign up before March 2nd. It's $500 for the entire week. That's 3 meals a day, a place to camp, place to shower, and then you get the Hempcrete experience and a Hempcrete T-shirt. Or not a Hempcrete T-shirt. That would be very uncomfortable. A hemp T-shirt.
Hempcrete T-shirt.
The Crete experience. You have to call it.
We're just gonna slap it on you.
Just call it. Just shorten the whole thing and call it the Crete experience.
Crete experience.
The Crete
experience. Come to the Crete experience.
That's right.
And then they'll be like, "What is that?" And then you can explain it because you don't have to. Then you don't have to say the word hemp again.
Experience.
Crete experience. I'm telling you.
I have hemp in it somewhere.
Nope. Don't even say the word hemp. Then people are like, "What the fuck is a Crete experience?" You'd be like,
That's right.
"Oh yeah, are you Crete?"
I'm telling you though.
Are you Crete experience?
When you
can
see
do
the
a
video
remix.
of the
You do a
dude with
remix.
the blowtorch
Yeah, I've seen
with
it.
the
We
hemp,
talked about it.
it's amazing. It's
Yeah.
it's fascinating learning about
That
what
was-
you can do with hemp. I
We
mean,
did
people,
it at my shop. We did it at, remember at the Hood Lab, we did a little.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, that was the same thing. We put it up there, boom.
But
left
it's
it on.
one thing. It's one thing to sit here and talk about hemp and all the uses that it has, but it's a whole other thing to actually see what those uses are and to see it in action. I mean, there are a million different things that you can use hemp for. You replace a million different products, and when people like yourself put it into play and actually show that it can be done, proof of concept, it's fascinating to me. And it's crazy that that laws have created the situation right now to where products like that are not allowed. I mean, it is, me as an American, I was taught that we're a free country.
Here we go.
Nah, you think as a
hand
kid,
over your heart when you
think
say
you were
this.
as a
Where's
kid,
this place? No.
you think as a kid that you're taught that we're this free country, you know, you develop a product like Hempcrete and bam, you can be rich. But no, it's just not that way.
Oh,
it's not that way sometimes.
Here's a Hempcrete story, I guess. You guys go to Concrete World yet? Have you been there? Come on. What the hell?
Where's it at?
Vegas, of course, where all the parties are at. Okay, so they do a concrete trade show, and it was exactly the same time as I think it was an NCIA event maybe, or it was some other event, and I was basically like, classic, get on the flight, sit down next to this guy, and he's like, "Hey, what are you going into Vegas for?" I go, "Oh, trade show." He goes, "Yeah, me too." And I was like, "Cool." And at first I thought he was going to say something about, weed. And he's like, I do concrete. And I was like, "Oh, cool." And he's like, "Yeah."
He's from New York?
Yeah,
I
total,
presume?
no, total New Yorker, right? He's like, you gotta come over to my spot. And I'm like, right. I come over and I come check it out. And it was like, I walked around that thing and it was just like, wow, this is funny. This is like a big trade show for just concrete people. And, but on the flight, I was like, okay, so you ever heard of Hempcrete? And he's like, no. And basically just like, oh, this is going to be a great flight. Boom. By the end of the flight, the guy's like sold. He can't, his mind's been blown. He's like, dude, this is crazy. Because everything that I said, all the little things about it that were just the most mind-blowing to him were the fact that, that it sequestered CO2, that it fucking could breathe, that he didn't have black mold, all these like things that he knows is the problem. He's like, oh, dude, that's huge. All these little things were like game changers, And then he's not a weed guy, so he's not looking at it as, a lot of times people can't comprehend like 10 football fields of hemp growing, you know what I mean? They're just thinking like, they think like weed, you know what I mean? So, but when we have that, which is very soon, it's going to change the game. But the only problem is, like we said in the very beginning, like you can't get those regulations changed. We're going to get into that stalemate, you know what I mean? Where it's like, you can't use this because it's not approved. And, so you have to, so does that make it impossible? Like, because Colorado's got pretty bad building code fucking things, right? I mean, it's pretty tough.
I'm just getting into the code enforcement game. Montrose is supposed to be a little easier to work with,
right?
So I'll find out in the next couple of weeks here.
Denver is a nightmare. I mean, Denver
sure,
seems like it's one of the tougher places to do it.
But I'm hoping, I started out in Straw Bale, and my mentor's name is Andrew Morrison. He was really instrumental in getting, I think, the International Straw Bale Building Code built. That's a UN code. So there's actually a code for Straw Bale, and now he's doing the same thing with tiny homes. because
Oh, that's
what
dope.
he's into. So.
See, tiny
That's
homes.
yeah,
So
yeah.
hemp's next. You know what I mean? We'll just keep.
I bet
pushing
you with the
until we
tiny
go.
home thing, man, you could probably, I don't know if stamp's the right word. It's probably not the right word, but you could probably pop out some quick homes with the
As long as they weren't mobile, I don't think it would do too well on the road.
Well, the thing,
hemp?
no, not at all. And the thing is, they just changed the law here in Colorado, which is pretty cool because before it was like this tiny home thing, it had to be movable, blah blah blah. But now they've said like if it's under 400 square feet, which is actually pretty big, that
That's bigger
you
than
can
my
you don't have to
apartment.
move them or you don't have to move them now. And
What's the deal? Why would you not want to move them? I mean,
Oh,
I
it'll
probably
crack.
know, but
wow,
I mean,
because
that
it's
is-
it's
yeah.
like yeah,
I
it's
they're
think
just
it's
not
crack.
very.
well, it's
Hit
like
a good bump or something like that.
a
and it's just
Adobe
gonna
or
go-
something.
But that doesn't
or
mean
like-
they're like if you well, say you wanted to build these in California, that doesn't mean like
You could
an
inc-
earthquake is going to damage them, right? I mean, you could probably engineer it well enough to work within California rules.
Sure.
maybe or maybe not.
That's the
because
only thing I
Supposed to
thought
have
of
a little
when
bit of plasticity to it. I'd like to try it. I
Yeah.
don't know. I haven't studied anything that talks about earthquake regions because I'm never in one. But
what was the other you had what was the seminar thing that you were talking about?
we're teaching someone how to build. Hopefully 30 people a week. Is what
That's
I like
the
to-
Crete experience,
That's my new
bro.
tiny
That's
home.
the
by
Crete
way.
experience. What are you talking about?
just bought that this
You forgot
weekend.
already?
That's your townhome?
It's my tiny home.
That's your tiny home.
Yeah, I bought a 35-foot international school bus,
Dude,
and I'm going to insulate it with the hemp.
That's dope.
Bat insulation.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Since I can't use Hempcrete, I want to use hemp everywhere
Right.
I can inside.
Sure.
bought a bus.
Yeah.
I've seen
it's
looks by
surprising how
like the
cheap
travel
they are.
buses, like
Yeah.
the old party buses and stuff, but this is a like
No, I went
legit
full on,
school bus.
Yeah, Star Destroyer. That's the big one. So
Star Destroyer.
It's
You would
big one in
paint
the fleet.
that. And
Oh yeah, and I called 2 paint places today that do cars, and they're like, "Yeah, I can't paint that." So I'm gonna have to find someone that does industrial.
Look at that thing, dude.
Why don't you just
Yeah.
wrap it? Why don't you just like do it?
Yeah,
I
wrap
thought
it.
about
That's
it.
what you're probably gonna have
wrap
to
it.
do.
You guys
is
want to
wrap it.
advertise on my bus? You guys can wrap it.
I got,
Yeah.
That's a big wrap. That's
know.
a $10,000 or $15,000 wrap.
I would wrap it if I could
Should
pay
be
for
cheaper
it.
to paint it.
I would wrap it if I could pay for it.
But the cool part about wrapping it is, you could just leave it like exactly as it is, wrap it really cool, and if you ever sold it, it's still a fucking school bus. It's
Yeah.
not like someone else is like, yeah, it would have been cool if it was a school bus. You know what I mean? It's like no excuses. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
That's really cool though. It's fun. It's interesting how many people take that option of buying sort of like a motor home type situation. You know,
A friend of
and,
mine just bought a bus also in Rhode Island for his club. It's
Yeah,
pretty
what's-
dope. He got like a real. It looks like an old Greyhound or something. Like
Oh
that.
sure, yeah. Well, the old ones are cool
The
too.
silver,
but-
the silver ones, like the
Yeah.
ones that still had the siding on them and
Nice.
shit like that.
what's
so-
her name? Just bought one too.
Who?
I can never remember
Why are you
people's
not?
names.
Why are you sitting on here not remembering stuff? That's-
horrible names.
That's like not a good thing.
But I'm gonna have to order that hemp fiber insulation from Ireland or Germany, basically, because they're the only 2 places producing it. So
That's
God
whack.
damn.
yeah.
Want to make America
Need
great
American.
again? You got to get the hemp growing.
Man,
Get sessions.
can you
out.
imagine if that was like if maybe Trump was like, all right, we hate this weed thing, but we could still make a bunch of products from hemp. Dude, you could just be the savior at that point.
We don't want him to. I don't want
I mean,
him
I
to
don't
do
want-
anything correct at this point.
You
I
have
don't
like a
want-
weed thing right under your nose right there. It's either a booger or a weed.
No, it's some weed. I just
Swede man over here, all over.
Swede. But no, don't have any faith that that's going to happen. So don't-
What was
don't-
that site
don't-
again? Where can they go find out more info
It's
about those?
learnhempcrete.com.
LearnHempcrete.com.
Dope. And then any kind of so you're going to be doing NOCO, I assume. Or
Oh yeah, NOCO's a great time. We love Morris and Lizzie. We get up there and
we can
rock
talk
the
about
booth.
NOCO for a minute.
That's become a pretty big
It's a great show.
seminar.
Literally,
or
NOCO is
conference.
like at the right pace. It's kind of grown. You know what I mean? It hasn't gone too quick. Because the thing is, any trade show that moves too fast fucks up, and then they end up with problems and too many people and not enough, or anything. So they do a real good job. They plan it, properly, and it's
A lot of great vendors, a lot of great booths. It's a
keeps
good
getting.
time.
It does keep getting bigger, which is awesome. But it also quality of the products keeps getting way better too.
Yeah.
It's like wow, look at that.
Some people don't think
you see the
of-
difference.
when they think of hemp farming or they think of hemp, sometimes they're still maybe stuck in that city mindset of like you're thinking of a grower with like 12 plants in his back room or whatever. But
Yeah.
this is actual farming. I
Scale.
mean, we're talking about
What's cool because you see
straight up
tractors when you
farming.
pull in, you're like, ooh, tractors, So
Right.
And also, people haven't when you deal with real farms with real tractors, they're talking again. They're back in the then $1 million ain't a big deal. They're like,
Yeah,
I
it's a
spent
lot
$1
of
million on the 2 tractors and the other thing. And
Combine itself, man. Shoot.
oh, that's already over $1 million. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
dude.
So it's like then nobody really owns them. They're renting them or they're using them for this or that. and the
Financed
other.
by the bank.
And
The bank owns it.
and so
Your whole farm. The bank owns your whole farm.
and so in our industry, nobody has that equipment really, like
No.
here in Colorado, at that up to par of what they need.
Well, it'd help if John Deere would make products in the United States for this. I mean, get in early in the game so
Yeah.
people have some incentive.
What's
to
it
get
called? The hemp
Decorticator.
Decorticator.
Decorticator. It's crazy.
It's funny because I talk to that word. I speak that word to people all the time, and what they regurgitate, it's always like the decortiminator, and I'm like, yeah, it's fine. You know what I'm talking about.
Decortifier.
It's
the
splits the brand.
Farcacouchinator. Dude, but that's something, and that's what I wanted to bring up. That this is farming. It's 100% farming.
Well, the thing about that machine too is like it's either you get a really really expensive humongous one, or you get a real small one that's like fucking does a shitty job or whatever. But
maybe been 100 years old or something.
But the crazy part is that we don't have any. Like we have a few now. There's one in North Carolina. There's one here. There was the last ever one that was in America was in San Diego.
And they had these previously. They were during like World War II
Yeah.
era. And then a lot of the machines that I've seen, they're old and they've had to work on them quite a bit to be able to get it to work. So, but I don't have a ton of experience looking at this stuff. I do have family that owns farm. My grandpa owned a farm out in northwest Colorado. My grandma owns, a bunch of land out in Arkansas. And farmers have it rough lately. I mean, well, not lately. It's one of the toughest jobs in the world to do, but because of food prices and because of the lack of interest in farming for younger
Well, it's
generations.
because of imports mostly because we import everything. So
It's becoming a less. I mean, it was never really a huge money making type situation. It's what you did. It's what you did. You were a farmer.
Well, I mean, the crazy part is that they did make money, but the investments were pretty big investment, long term sort of project, get paid out, and by the time everything gets paid off, you're not really making that
Family
much money.
farms are not making money.
But the numbers are there. Like with the guys going down to the local bank in the farming regions are dropping huge bits of money down, but it's also because they buying $250,000 tractors and they're fucking buying all this ridiculous infrastructure to keep the thing rolling. And then, at the end of the year, they might make it, hopefully. And if they have a shitty year, they
or
fuck
it's
up.
subsidized by the government. A lot of them
Or it's
just subsidized, straight up subsidized by the government.
Yeah, and they don't have to grow, and they just fucking just sit there.
But we could replace that situation with hemp.
You could, absolutely.
Period. End of story. We could replace it with hemp. And even if it's not, the demand for hemp isn't here in the United States, which it will be if we allowed it to be. With the export, we could still export hemp, but
Yeah, no, the demand will be fast because once people start to realize that they can, compare.
I stopped myself flat in the track there when I started talking about export because we can't compete against India and China.
Well, they're not. Yeah, I mean, again, we can create a whole new market because the thing is, I think also what's dope is, like we were talking about graphene and stuff before, which is like, you take a plant which is super simple and raw. And then you have these multiple ways of making money off of it, and it's literally, it is the buffalo of plants, right? You got to use every single part of it, and in the end of the day, if you actually do that and use every part of it, you're like, holy shit, we're making way more per acre than if you're growing it. If you're doing the whole thing, if you're not just processing, but if you're growing, processing, distributing, doing the whole 9 yards, you can create just hundreds and hundreds of different ways of making money, and then you take it into biotech, and it gets crazy because the quality of hemp products are so high that you give it to somebody who's got half a brain, and they're all of a sudden wait a minute, this is the best, source of cellulose we've ever seen. And it's it just does that. You know what I mean?
And it starts to change the outcome of results too. I mean, you may not have had you had a less quality product that you're working with now, and then another product comes in and raises that quality. It's going to change the results in the long run. It's just like these tests that they do and the studies that they do on cannabis from the University of Mississippi.
Yeah, with shitty weed.
And the swag, and it's just the worst weed you can possibly get, and then you bring in maybe something that's grown from a great source. It's not even the same product.
Yeah.
You can't even you really can't connect the two at all, and so that's going to be also another big learning curve when we start to introduce all this into the mix. Relearning better ways to get to an endpoint.
Well, the problem. Okay, right now we're everything's about blind. If you have to do a blindfold test, a blind test with anything, get it clinically passed by the FDA or something like that. Cannabis is going to have a hard time because A, they don't recognize it unless it's already been taken out and turned into a compound, and there you go. And okay, here it is, it's pure, and it's got nothing else. Then those things don't work anymore, you know. It's the whole, we're kind of like in this weird, until they recognize that whole plant, sort of everything is the way to go. I mean, you can take like a tenth of a gram of just flour, mix it up with some coconut oil, right? Put it into a pill. Then you can take 100 milligrams of extract of whatever and compare them, and you'll get way more effect off the 10 milligram. You get like a better effect from 10 mil and coconut oil than you will off 100 mil isolate or some other bullshit, and it doesn't do anything. You're like, okay, well, that didn't really work, you know. And so
and we still haven't got into. I think what you're trying to say is, you know, getting into the R&D. Of it all. Just
shit's about to get real. Shit's about to get real.
It blows me away how much there's still R&D to be done in facilities that have been legit and open for years. Like, here's the thing: is the access to the product is still so limited. You know, you have companies that say hash company, and the hash company wants to make a certain type of hash or wants to research how to get a certain result that they just saw. They don't necessarily have an endless supply of weed to waste to run to be able to get that product. You know, and so that's part of it too. So the more that we unlock this and allow the ability for people to, you know, like yourself, to just sit down and talk about it with each other, do the R&D. I mean, the ability for you to, for someone like yourself, the just untapped ability of someone like yourself is just those are the things in America that I hate. When I talked about like, I think we were in this free country or whatever, it's that we get locked inside this,
you know, it grinds my gears,
shitty box of expectation and how you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to operate, etc., including with like the drug war. And there's just so much untapped potential in people across the board.
Yep.
Be weird.
Except for you, of course.
Be weird. Be strange.
Everybody but you. You have been tapped, bro. All your talent is tapped.
I've never tapped into my full potential.
It's used up, bro.
That's something my teachers regularly have told me throughout the years.
Fully tapped. Tim, fully tapped Martin.
No, that's what's sad.
Did you know did you ever get to talk to anybody about graphene and get to any that's actually involved in any of that, or
just read about it?
Because that whole battery thing blows my mind. That's like one of those. That's like one of those. You know, just when you thought you knew something, you're like,
wait, what are you talking about?
Graphene and how hemp. So, interestingly enough, hemp produces graphene naturally in its own sort of form when you heat it at the right temp. Basically, heating it up to the right temperature. And
what do you mean by graphene?
Graphene is like a...
graphene.
Yeah,
microchips.
I thought you were talking about graphene.
Batteries.
Like graphene.
Graphene. Yeah.
No. Graphene, which is really expensive to make, right? Was getting cheaper, but it's also kind of toxic too. So when you make it with hemp, you're using non-toxic materials, and you're creating the same thing, which is basically a single layer of nanotubes that lay kind of in the right direction. And it's weird because with hemp, what you do is take it's pretty much the fiber of the hemp, which is weird. So it's not the herds. So it's the fiber part, but you heat it up at the right temperature, and you kind of go up real slow. And then at a certain point, you heat it up real fast, and that kind of creates a chemical. It creates a reaction, and what you're left with are a single layer of molecules that are perfectly lined up. And so you're creating nanotubes.
So graphene is an allotrope. Is that how you say that? Of carbon consisting of a single layer of carbon atoms arranged in a hexagonal lattice. Mm-hmm. That's cool.
And so hemp does this naturally, and so they're figured out like, holy shit, we can do it out of hemp.
That's really cool.
Now when you start to grow fields of it, you got all this fiber, you're turning it into that, and that's what Tesla is putting all his energy into now is only using graphene for their batteries. So you can imagine every fucking Tesla needing shitloads of this. So all of a sudden it's like, and the coolest part about it is it's biodegradable.
And they're trying to develop the buckyball too. Is on the other side of that. Tesla was wanting to use this molecule, this molecule or whatever that they had put together that would possibly even be able to hold and control like nuclear fission and et cetera, and you know the explosion of like hydro batteries and stuff like that, you know, like I can't remember exactly what the name of it was that they say it, but that's what's cool too, is that these type of engineering down to the cellular level of building, this little box that can hold something and is pretty much indestructible. That's so cool.
Well,
It's fascinating.
Well, again, like with hemp, if you take that into effect, where you're going like, okay, so that would be the perfect marriage where you got to, now you got a way to use all the fiber for something that's not as typical. Like everyone right away thinks of clothing, which is cool, but it's also like we're so far behind the Chinese.
This is the space age stuff that we need to be getting into.
We might as well forget about clothes and just let them deal with it right now, because for the most part, we still have to build a whole other industry just to do that. And what we should concentrate on is stuff like this, where we can actually take it next level. And you're like, wait a minute. You're talking about what? And
It's kind of the tortoise and the hare, you know what I mean? Hemp's going real slow, and all the other horseshit products are always in the lead. But at the end of the day, it's going to win.
When hemp catches, though, it's going to fly.
Yep.
That's the thing, is that it's like right at the starting gate, and we're hammering out weed right now. And there's going to be a certain point where, as a whole, maybe we in the United States realize they kind of snap out of this of like, oh wait, hemp isn't marijuana? It's not weed? Like, then that I think is going to happen. And it just takes a little bit. And why I mentioned farming and the whole situation with farming, because when you go to a seminar or you go to a conference that's weed related, it's one thing. It's in its own category. When you go to something that's like the NOCO hemp thing or another, it's like a farming. It's a different monster. It's not. It doesn't have the excitement.
they still go down. They're still getting down.
Oh, it is the
But
excitement.
it doesn't. But here's the thing. It's not as sexy. It doesn't have the perceived excitement. It's not the sessions that people are trying to get into. It is the more serious business side, the textile side, the production side of things. 100 times bigger than anything that we're ever going to see in weed. But the excitement, man, it's like what I was talking about. People don't want to get into farming because it's just not the cool thing to do as kids. It's that same thing with hemp. It's just not exciting to some people, but it is. It is.
No,
So I want to comment on that because this is my thing. I've noticed just when I go.
Yeah.
So I just went to Indo Expo here in Denver. And that was great, and everybody's going nuts. The cannabis, big cannabis thing, and we had a hemp hallway, and it's the second year they've had a hemp hallway.
Yeah.
We got a ton of traffic through there, and people were like, "Oh, what's it?" And I'm like, "Well, you need to come to NOCO, which is April 6th and 7th, just in Loveland."
Yep.
Anyway, because it's like Indo Expo for hemp, and people are I lost my voice both days last year. So many people coming to the booth, and I mean, Hempcrete was kind of a nice draw from all the CBD stuff going on. But, I mean, people were freaking out. They were excited. We got so many people like, so I can build, what about, I live in New England. How about a Cape Cod house? Just say, and I was like, look, all you have to do is put furring strips on the front of your Hempcrete so there's an air gap.
Yes.
You can make it look exactly like every other fucking house, and no one's going to know that it's not.
No one's going to, exactly.
That it's not conventional construction. You will, because you're going to be benefiting from it. And at the end of the day, you were talking about just like hemp being able to make graphene. I'm all about things being made with the sustainable, replenishable source that isn't detrimental to humans.
Yep.
It's like filler, everything's got filler in it. You go to buy ice cream, should be cream, milk, sugar.
Yeah.
And then there's carrageenan and guar gum and xanthan gum and all this bullshit.
Yep.
And people eat it up. So what we need to do is get to the consumer, because this is a hugely consumer-based, unfortunately.
Yep.
We're like one of the worst, man. We just consume.
As soon as people figure out, and it's just not an option to people. As soon as they figure out that, or are given this option, I mean, there's just no reason not to run towards it.
Absolutely.
No, it's really cool because when I go to like I don't really go Whole Foods anymore, but in natural grocers or whatever, and I see that the hemp stuff's like becoming pretty normal. It's like it's not no one is like.
On that end of things, it is a quote unquote sexy thing to have like hemp in Whole Foods store and stuff.
Yeah, well, they usually the cool thing is in June every year when they do Hemp History Month or whatever, they have the end caps are always fully done, just all the hemp products, and that was kind of like the beginning of like when I first came back, and I was like, damn, there's like wow, they're really promoting it hard, and then at a certain point it was like I realized that it did, and then they'll do that once a year, but that's pretty much it. The rest of the time, it's just there, and it just starts to become normal, and you start to see, oh, look, there's a hemp option, and I'll always buy a hemp option, give it a chance, because, it's obviously supporting the cause, but at the same time, it's like, it's kind of mind blowing because I'd be like, man, imagine when you could have chips in the shop, and now you go, oh my god, look, there's hemp chips, whatever. It's just like, damn, everything is happening, and it'll only get faster and more aggressive and better quality, which is cool because a lot of times everybody assumes everything from hemp is like.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier.
Birkenstocks and granolas and like, hey man, you want to buy it, man? It's like it's like it gets real savvy, where you're like all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, that and that's what our products have always tried to be is like, oh, that's nice, and then they're like, yeah, that's hemp, and you're like,
yeah.
Really?
So one thing I like to show people is I've got a couple 1902 and 1908 replica Sears catalogs where you can buy literally anything sold as like Amazon back in the day, right?
Yeah.
So if my understanding is right, canvas is derived from the word cannabis, right?
Yeah.
And so all of our tents in the Civil War, World War I, World War II were probably all canvas. And you got to presume that most of the canvas in the Sears catalog pre-1937 is made from hemp.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of hemp. I mean, they've also got like hemp carpet you can buy right in the magazine. It's so great to look up hemp and then, oh, look, there's hemp carpet. You could just get it for your stairs or your living room or whatever you wanted.
Right.
I want it to become that normal again to where it's just like,
Yeah.
you can opt for hemp or you can opt for linen or you can opt for...
And it's luckily it's kind of happening too. So you see it to the point where you're like, oh shit, it's like it is finally getting to that point where people are putting... The crazy part is though, is every time something like that comes out, you have to pretty much guarantee that somebody fucking put some blood, sweat, and tears into making it get to where it was because... There's nothing but pushback all the way normally, and then occasionally somebody gets it through. They make it through because they're super fucking soccer mom, and they're so far removed from cannabis that whoever they talk to kind of didn't get spooked. They managed to put it in their catalog. But or it gets trendy like Urban Outfitters. Remember, like they would get really all of a sudden into weed. Like all of a sudden they have weed books, and I'm walking in there one time.
They did?
And I'm like.
I don't go to Urban Outfitters.
Because when I go back to New York from Amsterdam, I usually stop at an Urban Outfitters or whatever, check it out, because it's like, they always would change out their style. And there was like a moment in time where it was like, everything was about weed, you know what I mean? So I was like, and I'd go up there and I'd be like, oh, look, here I am in page whatever. And here, there it is. Oh, they don't have me. Oh, look, there I am again. It was just crazy. A couple of times I was like, that was weird. There was like 3 different books that came out that all got sold as their little book spot. Funny. And they were all weed related, and they happen to all have either strains or mine or whatever. Dun. But, it's kind of like it either gets through because it's good, it's cool, you know what I mean?
But I think it's going to take a federal.
But you want it to be standard. I mean, that's the best.
Are you guys going to NOCO?
Oh, yeah.
Are you going?
I don't know if I'll go.
Tim, go. You'll
I
see
might
how
have to work.
sexy it is.
It's
call in sick. You don't have to work.
I'm speaking, so I'll be there.
It's on the weekend.
I'll try and head up there. I'll try and head up there.
It's a really good time. I mean, there's a lot of really, really good stuff. Steep Fuse is a company that infuses CBD into their coffee beans.
Yeah,
I mean, it's awesome.
Two's.
All the
and
stuff
they got hemp beer, but we don't drink
That's
it.
Two's jam.
Oh, no, they have beers.
The coffee. No, well, that too. Yeah.
That
We don't talk
too.
about that,
Yeah.
but I'm talking about coffee. Him and his...
Oh,
we have
for
this
sure.
guy that he's like
This guy.
scientist.
We own him.
He's gonna be
have this
scientist
guy.
level of like trying to figure out the best coffee cup. Period. I mean, he's nuts. He's nuts. Period. But he just gets into these little things like this.
You mean the
It's
best roasted beans? That
Just
you
like
can get?
everything, the best coffee, the best everything from beginning
Latte
to
art,
end.
Sure.
It's like Breaking Bad type situation with this mother.
Well,
trucker.
coffee's an interesting.
Shout out to
science,
Two.
that's
Well,
for
now
sure.
that I don't drink, I drink a lot of coffee, obviously.
I don't drink either, my friend.
Yeah, and you don't drink coffee.
We don't need no. I don't drink coffee. No.
I know.
I don't drink alcohol. I don't drink coffee. I try not to drink soda, but
But you drink it all
I
the time.
get into these like shitty swings of like I'll have a soda every day for a week and then not have one for like 2 months.
Dude, I'm the worst
man.
with that. Like, I have willpower with any other substance in the world, but soda,
Mark.
like, I can't stop it.
I can't stop till you pop every one.
You know what it is?
You gotta
though?
be more like you gotta
What
be more
soda
like
do you
Kyle.
drink?
Kyle
I
drinks
drink
seltzer
Coke.
water.
Oh, see,
Coca-Cola
yeah.
mainly.
Yeah, Coke.
I can't do any of that. I quit drinking soda, right? But until they started making organic sodas, and then I was like, hey, I could have soda. Same with chocolate. Same
This
with
is not
everything.
too. This was like a cane sugar thing from Vanilla Pop.
Right.
Most of those are usually too sweet, like way too sweet.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when I stopped drinking,
Oh, here we go.
every comment I'm about to make,
How old are you,
He's like,
Tim?
oh my god, here we
How
go.
old is he?
He's
How old do you think I am?
mentally-
27?
Mentally, he's about 8 or something, 9 or
16.
Like, yeah.
I'm 34.
34. Okay,
34.
so I guess you could have been drinking for a while. I was just say, yeah, my
you want to
ears-
ask these guys about this? So,
Yeah.
but when I stopped,
Oh, he got level. He got up to the level, pretty high up the level.
when I stopped,
Yeah.
the whole sugar thing, you know, that
Was
that
it
becomes
worse?
a thing.
Was it worse?
No, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't even that bad. It's worse now than it used to be. Like I still have at the end of the night when I'd be like
After
when
your
I just
fifth soda,
chug,
when your
chug,
fifth
chug.
soda, you're on your sugar diet. on your pure sugar diet.
Maybe I haven't had a soda out throughout the whole day, but like at the end of the night, at the very end of the night is usually when I like to get super high or I'd just really kick in the drinking, and I do have like this weird trigger of like sugar high. Like I have to have sugar, I have to have a soda, I have to have a candy bar or something.
I always had
That
a
only
bag
started
of,
after I quit with the drinking.
organic gummy bears are my
Yeah.
weakness.
Dude, those are amazing. I love gummy bears. I love gummy bears.
yeah.
Don't tell me how the gummy bears made and where
I'm
it comes
purposely
from. But
trying to stay off all candies just to kind of not inspire my kid at all. So I'm always just like, okay, how do I not like? And I
I
don't
eat like shit.
And I don't. And I'm kind of like, it's no big deal. But then every so often it'll be funny because like the other day, I was at a Home Depot or something, and I was picking up shit, and I was like, dude, I need like some sugar. So I normally would never buy a crappy thing, but I'm like, I'll take a Snickers, whatever.
Oh, dude, Snickers are the best, though.
And so I ate a Snickers bar, right? And then my kid gets in the car the next day. He sees that empty wrapper, and he was fucking like,
It's like, what's this shit, Dad?
"What is this?" You know, he fucking busted my ass. So I was
Dude.
all like, "Oh, I was hungry." He's like, "You ate it without me."
No, you
I was like,
I gave a homeless guy $1 and he dropped his wrapper in on accident. That's always the answer. You can't tell him it was yours. That's
Yeah,
all.
yeah. No, it was definitely one of those deals where it was just like, okay, at least he's picking up on the fact. And then he was like, and it's not even a good one. Like he was like really like he could tell
What?
I wasn't eating like quality candy. He's like,
Snickers is quality.
not really.
It's a lot of hydrogenated oil in that.
I like Snickers.
I love the taste, but I hate that I can't eat them anymore. No one's made a fake Snickers bar yet.
My
They've
friend
done
used to
Milky
do-
Way.
My friend
Fake
did
Milky
the first edible. One of the guys who was kind of the edible dude back in the day, and he would do stoner bars, which were tasted really close. They were a little bit too big because they were like kind of a big Snickers, and a little softer than the real deal. Not quite as hard, but flavor was on point.
Jenny
and
Kush.
medicated too. So
Jenny Kush.
she made one?
Would make Snickers, and she would make some Snickers a few times. It's pretty good.
yeah, it's one of those things. The concept
Medicated
is great.
Snickers.
The concept is great, and when you're a kid in the commercials, you always got like fucking like as you see the thing getting dripped on with chocolate,
dude,
you're like,
it's still
you're like,
good.
I'll never.
You're acting like it's trash. It's not.
It is trash. It is trash.
All
Chocolate wise,
right.
it's trash.
Whatever.
All commercial candy is trash.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna
yeah,
say.
yeah.
Try
It's a
some of the
Vice type
Amy's candy
situation.
bars.
I've
They-
had Amy's.
I mean, their Milky Way's pretty close. Their turtle bar is pretty close to the real thing. You know,
I had Amy's mac and cheese like
Mac and
2
cheese,
weeks
mac
ago.
and cheese,
Is
yeah.
you talking about like the vegan?
That's
type-
That's
Ann.
No, this is Amy's.
Amy's,
Wait a
yeah,
minute.
Angie's.
No,
Amy's.
Angie's.
Angie's.
Angie.
Dude, it's like vegan mac and cheese. It
Angie.
tasted the weirdest shit
Oh,
ever.
you got the vegan
was
version. That wasn't
weird.
even like the right. You got the probably like
I don't even
gluten-free.
know what it
You
was.
should go.
dude.
No, it's Annie's.
Is it rice?
That's what
Annie's
you're
is
thinking
what
of,
it is.
Annie's,
I couldn't
yeah.
even finish
Was
it.
it rice?
I couldn't even finish
rice
it.
pasta.
It was macaroni and cheese.
Yeah, but it was made out of rice pasta.
I don't
Some
know.
of their stuff's
I
not
don't know.
bad, but they got bought by General Mills, so I quit buying their shit.
Exactly. See,
Everybody's
you
gonna get
think
bought
the
by
way-
everybody.
you
That's the
think-
same thing's gonna happen.
There's
in
some
the weed
holdouts.
industry.
There's some holdouts.
You think the way I think. So I'm
Well,
pretty
it's just
much-
like Barnes and Noble, right? No
He
local
does. He's like
bookstores.
he reminds me a little bit of some things he said of like you, but the less hairy version of you. You
Well,
know?
no, the idea that
Less
like,
terroristy.
he understands that if somebody gets bought up by somebody,
I'm being reserved,
Then
that's all.
their
It's my first time.
Their morals are out the window because you know who they are. You're like, oh, these guys are definitely not
Yeah.
looking out for my interests.
Right.
They're like, what is this organic whatever?
Yeah.
Just put regular and say it's organic, and we'll be fine.
Sure,
no one's
sure.
gonna check. Cause
Well, I
I'm a
mean,
big
General
boy.
Mills admitted to all their cereals being
Genetically
concocted.
modified.
Well, I mean, before they were genetically modified, they put so much sugar and stuff in them to try and hook. They said their mantra was to hook kids young
Yeah.
and keep them eating General Mills into adulthood, right? Of
course.
So I don't do any of those kind of companies. I mean, I've got blacklists. I do
Yeah.
a food blog too. If you want to have a talk
nice.
about that sometime.
Tell
'cause
us
I
about,
just do-
tell us about it.
Dude
Tell
knows
us
what's
about it.
It's called Food Fury, and
That's
it's an
awesome.
amalgamation of cooking up a storm and being pissed off about the food industry's current.
So you are cooking while you're
incarnation.
doing the show, or
Oh no, we're not doing
no?
we're not doing this yet. I want to, but
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
you got to rent
Have him do
commercial
a cooking
space.
show.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be cool.
Because I'd like to get into
getting
cooking
mad. Well,
with
getting
weed,
mad,
too.
cooking, doing a podcast at the same time. Those three combinations are great.
just come and
'Cause
eat
if you
the
just
food.
like,
Yeah, we could have a couple people just
spend-
come. The panel would be there to eat the food.
That's not.
That's
be all right.
awesome. That's awesome. But and
I'll even shut up if it's.
I watch
food.
all. Did you watch the new thing on Netflix about all the food stuff? The,
Oh god, I can't even watch them. I mean, I get
I don't
so
watch
pissed
those.
off
I
that
can't watch that
it.
stuff
Well,
because
it's good because it's about all the dirty fucking tricks in the industry.
Yeah,
And
it's-
I don't want to know
those are the
this
ones I
shit.
can't watch. They just piss me off.
Well, you know all of them. So the
Yeah.
thing I feel good when I watch it with my wife because I'm like, oh, we already know this kind of stuff. It's just being like shown to us. We're like,
Yeah,
oh,
I'm
there
glad
it is,
that
live.
it's out there.
See, I'm the bastard that doesn't want to know.
And I tell people all,
Yeah.
you know, I'm literally the guy who's always like, oh, like, you're not gonna eat that, right? And they're like, what do you mean? And you're like, dude, come on, it's like
Yeah.
it's made out of fucking styrofoam, basically.
Whatever.
And they're like, what? And you're like, it tastes good though. You know, it's like, okay, whatever. And then we're getting to that point now where all that shit is just kind of coming out, where it's like, oh, okay.
Well, I mean, I'm from Illinois, and I just went back, and every time I do, I have to eat whatever I can get. I mean, you're talking to people like, what do
You
you
have to
mean
eat
pork
lumin-
rinds don't have vitamin C? It's like, they don't, you know, you can't.
You have to eat
can't all this shit.
Luminelli's every time you go back. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Luminelli's?
well, like when
What's
we
that
were
pizza place in Chicago? Luminelli's?
Oh, I'm from South of
Luminelli's?
there.
We-
Springfield is where I'm
When-
from.
Well, it's funny because when we were in Springfield here, Colorado, at the Ryan Laughlin's farm, his hemp farm, it was like kind of weird because we went down there and then we were like, oh, we're gonna, because everybody was like, you know, oh, we didn't have any veggie options for you, and it's like, oh, it's cool. We'll just go down to the store and grab something, right? So we went down and we're like, dude,
It's just meat.
there ain't no fucking veggie options in a fucking town of farms. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It was like everything was canned.
Really?
Or-
oh,
So
yeah,
are you
yeah, yeah,
vegetarian?
it's like that.
Mostly, I eat
Yeah.
fish, but there's no fish.
For the longest time, I had no clue what the hell Adam ate.
Yeah, I eat fish and I eat dairy.
still don't.
I don't care about. I'm not too crazy. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll eat dairy. I'm not vegan.
Right,
so,
me
so-
either.
So I'll eat.
But have you
like-
tried vegan bacon?
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's
all
the
different
with the
combos.
rice paper?
It's
It's the most insane thing.
What are we talking about now?
I
What
tried
are
lots
we
of different.
talking
You take the rice paper,
Uh-huh.
you double it up, cut it into strips, and then there's a marinade that you dip it in water, dip it in
Yeah.
the marinade, and you bake it. And I told my girlfriend Allie, who's
I
a
never did that one.
vegetarian,
I never did that one.
She's like, "Oh, I have this recipe I want you to try." You know, for 2 months, I'm like, "Yeah, get the fuck out of here. You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to eat this." But she made it, and
Yeah.
I was like, "What the hell is this? That it looks like bacon, it smells like bacon, it tastes like bacon."
Yeah.
So, because I'd always said, if you can find me a bacon replacement,
Dread will be mad if he heard that right
He's
now.
gonna have it, and he'll say it won't even taste.
oh no, you can't. Everybody I've given it
Yeah.
to, they said, if you didn't tell me that wasn't bacon,
Oh, but they don't have the
They
fat
wouldn't
part.
know.
It's more the crispy side.
it's the thin
I don't
crispy.
know.
That's the only thing.
It's
You
thin.
can't get the thick.
No,
I don't
you
believe
can't
you.
get the fake fat.
I believe you. I'm not saying you're not right, but we're gonna have to see about
I've
this
got a
someday.
picture of it.
That's a
You wanna see
picture.
it?
Picture.
Like,
I'm
no,
I've
talking
got a
about
video.
taste.
I've got a video. Okay, wait.
I don't
Here,
care what
slide-
it looks
Slide
like.
over, let him jump on. No, just slide
All
over
right.
that
If
way.
it tastes like
that.
bacon, I'm
Switch.
cool with that.
Dredd said that Adam eats baby rabbits.
We're on the vegetarian tip, so we brought
Dredd
in our-
said Adam is-
Listen, I just flew in my number one vegetarian
Yeah, he's in the
guy.
chat
He
room
just
right
came in.
What up,
'cause
Dredd?
He just came in because he's going to defend, and he's going to tell me right now he eats penguins or something. Like, oh, dude, I eat penguin meat. I'm sorry.
Vegan penguins.
Hey, what's this stuff?
You can't eat penguins?
They make every now vegan shrimp. They got about
Here,
the
just-
vegan chicken.
I was just telling about the vegan.
Why is that
bacon.
trapped under there?
Oh, that's faking.
Trapped.
Yeah, fake and
I
bacon.
don't know. Can't figure it out. It's trapped, bro.
It's under this.
Oh, it's over there. See, this is the typical.
Okay.
What? That's it?
That's good.
I don't know.
The headphones. You don't need headphones. It's all good.
No, I'm good now. Let's see.
Oh,
Here, why don't you take me?
switch them. Switch. 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 Yeah. All right. And for my first track,
For my first trick.
So I'm going to show you the bacon, and then I got to take off.
yeah.
That's cool.
Show me the bacon takeoff. Okay.
Yeah. What
Show
time is
me
it?
the-
Sorry, 6:30.
We're almost done. We're on the final.
I'm
we're in the
cool with
final
however,
wraps. We're in the
whatever.
final wraps. We're doing the.
What's your name? Man?
Goodness. I'm Ross Book.
Ross.
Ross Bookman.
Yeah.
What is
also
that?
known as Sean Bookman.
Yeah, just Sean.
Yeah,
That's all
Sean's fine.
Yeah.
Did you come in and defend?
Defend
Vegan
he's,
bacon?
He's here to defend vegan bacon everywhere.
You mean faking? Oh, FLTs are the best. Little vegan A's,
Fake.
Yeah.
The
No,
whole thing.
but he's got a pretty interesting recipe.
That doesn't sound right,
It
man.
was a rice paper. You ever heard of this one?
Oh.
The rice paper version.
Rice paper vegan
Oh wow, they're taking it deep. I saw a zucchini.
No, we're not. You're just eating
Live
paper, bro.
zucchini.
We're eating straight paper around here, dude. Stacking paper. We're fucking.
this
in.
vegan.
We're
Just chomping on
stacking.
air. Life force.
I will say for Dredd right now and for me that until I have this, until I taste this,
I'm gonna
I am
slip it
calling
in on
bullshit.
you. I'm slipping it in on you, and you'll be like, dude.
You- all
You won't
right.
even know. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's so good you won't even know. A lot of people.
I don't believe you,
You
for
got to
a
perfect
second.
the fat part. You got to come up with the fat.
I don't believe it for a second.
You know, hemp.
Tim.
Hemp
Is that
has
rice paper right there?
people keep
Ryan?
telling me you could get meats, bacon, etc. from veggies, and I'm like, I
Look,
just
check this
don't know. I
Everything's
don't know.
done.
Have you seen the Beyond Meat pea protein
yeah.
isolate burger.
No,
They
they're
taste,
good.
feels,
They're
and
good.
looks like hamburger.
And they drip red juice like
Yeah,
No,
no,
it's
it's
it's beet
So
juice.
I did have a
It's made
hemp
of beet
burger
juice.
before.
Yeah.
It's pretty delicious.
I had one of
Here.
Carla Boyd's hemp burgers from Hempway
Sure, they're
Foods,
great.
and those actually I will say that those are pretty good, but it still didn't taste like.
No.
Close to-
It's. I mean,
These do. They're
right,
called
all
no.
Beyond Meat.
There-
They're
you can
like
get,
$5
actually, you know what? You
two
can
of them.
no. You can get one right here next door at BurgerFi. They have them there.
Oh yeah,
They have a
BurgerFi
hamburger
does
at BurgerFi?
sell-
No,
No,
they
they
have
have
a,
Beyond
they
Meat.
have a
This
Beyond
thing.
Meat burger.
Oh yeah.
BurgerFi. It's pretty
At
amazing.
BurgerFi,
I did walk into this.
and then you get all the
I'm good.
and then you get all the fucking fixins that makes it taste just like.
So I walked into Native Foods or whatever it is.
Those are good.
I'm looking at the menu. I'm thinking that I'm gonna order a burger. There's
Yeah, yeah.
it looks like they got meat on there.
Yeah.
Not a single piece of meat on there.
Their
Nothing.
chicken deals.
I walked right
fire.
out.
No, their chicken deals fire.
I'm a dick, I
You've
know.
had that, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Their
yeah,
chicken, their fake chicken is like. I was like, man, I want this recipe because
Oh
this is the
yeah.
fucking.
No.
I
phenomenal.
eat like shit.
is,
I mean,
it's good.
I'm bagging on this and saying this is bullshit, but I eat like shit, so I have no room to talk.
You know the greatest thing in hemp has more protein than any
Oh, yeah,
meat.
yeah.
You know, it has more omegas than fish. You know, so really through the plant kingdom, it's I'm not
It's
sure.
all
if our-
there. It's all
yeah, it's
there.
all there. I don't think our bodies are actually meant to eat meat. You know, our intestines are a different length than meat eaters. Our teeth are different. You know,
Look at the
than meat
jaw.
eaters.
Like,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Just give somebody some snargles and let them.
I mean, I've been-
Hey, yeah, you're grinding.
How long you
free.
been vegetarian? Were you
What?
born? You were born vegetarian?
Born vegetarian?
Yeah,
No, I ate until I started eating
It's a choice.
vegetarian around 20.
You grew up on the farm in
Nick,
Tennessee or
I don't.
something?
Nick's gonna have the
No,
craziest
did I make that
palate.
up?
You
I
made that up.
I totally made that
Tennessee?
up. You know the farm? It's like it was like
Oh,
one of
the hog farm?
yeah something they
the
made the
acid
first
guy?
vegan
Oh, no,
cookbook.
I'm thinking the acid guys.
No, not the acid guys. These were like
No.
they were hippies, but it doesn't.
No,
matter.
it was a different group
Yeah,
of hippies.
different
I was in
group of
Chile. I wasn't making. We weren't doing that shit.
Yeah.
We were
Chile.
Chile down in South America.
Whatever.
Partying. We were partying. I mean,
I don't know,
was
man.
with-
I do need to expand. I do enjoy good food, but the problem is food is so expensive that it's hard to kind of sway out of your
I always-
comfortable range.
I look
you
at
know?
it. I look at it like it's straight up health insurance. Like I'll go in like
I mean,
like yesterday. I was there
yeah.
yesterday. I spent $220 because it's all for my kid, and it all goes into my kid. And probably like I get like $20. He gets $200.
Right.
And it's just pretty much like, damn, this shit stacks up. But it's all like,
Yeah, dude,
have to
it's-
do it. Can't.
$200 was nothing. That was probably like a week, maybe not even.
No,
couple.
go a week. It's a couple days.
Yeah, that's
it's like
that's
you get
insane that it
sucked
costs
in.
that much, man.
But that's the best because
Yeah.
let your food be your medicine be your food.
It's better.
It's good to
a
have- I agree that
I
it
just
is
feel
good
like
to
you
have-
to do it. It's
eat good
impossible.
food.
Otherwise, like
I'm just talking about taste here.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about
taste-
whether it be
taste is there
good to
too.
you.
and better. If you
Yeah.
have something organic, non-GMO, something natural, it's going to taste better than a high C drink. If you have like fresh fruit juice, it's going to
once
taste
you get
better.
over the hump of like
Yeah.
the short term fucking like deal, like I gotta have that high fructose to fucking make me, like that's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
people get. They don't even realize they're hooked on that kind of style of sugar, and that sugar is like not.
worse than crack, like
Oh,
for
it's
the brain,
way
like more
worse.
addictive than
Yeah.
crack. you
I
know?
don't know about that.
I don't know, they say-
it registers the same sensory perception. I want you to look at this.
I've never been.
Is his
I've never
mic
been
on?
addicted to
His
crack.
His mic's not on.
Tim, I give you vegan bacon.
There it is.
I've never been
And
addicted
look
to
at it.
crack.
Wow,
Look at that.
Look at that. Wow.
His mic no.
I mean, it looks interesting. It looks compelling. It does look compelling.
That looks awesome.
How do you feel? How do you
how'd they
feel
get the-
after
how'd they
you
get
eat?
the color
When you
like
say
the
you eat
stripes?
poorly,
the
how do you
marinade.
feel?
I mean,
Wow.
It's really crazy.
depending on what you
All right,
eat.
send me that recipe.
I will do.
I mean, depending on what you eat, you may not
Put
have
that online.
the
Put that
energy
recipe on our
that's
fucking
You can
page.
look at. I mean, if you
the
just
energy
type
you
in
want,
rice
etc.
Those would be
Yeah.
the Adam Dunn show.
You know,
I know what you're saying.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
get what you're
like
saying. I get it.
digestively, like when
I'm just playing devil's
processed
advocate
meat-
slightly here too.
No, it's fine, and I'll stay on the angel's side. But you know, it takes a long time for meat to process through your intestines. Like you have, meat in your body for like weeks before you drop
Weeks?
one. Yeah, yeah.
Man.
Versus like a vegan or vegetarian diet. You're making a bowel.
yeah,
movement.
if you have a bad, if
we
your
poop a
system's
lot.
not,
We
Yeah, we
poop a
poop.
lot.
Yeah.
We poop.
Hold on, excuse me.
We poop.
my skinny ass.
There's this.
No, and I understand.
I'm all
that.
over it, dude. I'm
I
gonna go home
get
and
that
make it.
what
I'm
you eat
making
is
it.
important, and
Rice paper. Where's the rice
processed
paper?
foods and all these shitty sugars.
Shush.
Those are the things that I would like to
Shush,
eliminate
shush,
from my diet eventually. This is the processed
Your
sugars
diet. Is this
and
the
the
Tim? Wait a
processed
minute.
meats.
This is the Tim Martin diet we're talking about here.
No, we're not talking about this. I don't even know how this
I didn't
came
know-
into play.
I
We
didn't
started
know
talking
it.
about bacon, and I'm just
Oh, you're
defending
done.
bacon's
Defend away. Defend away.
defending bacon's
vegans. Don't be calling no
don't know
vegans.
what the word
I'm
is.
from the
I don't know
planet
what the word is.
vegan.
I'm from the planet vegan.
You know,
Talking.
we have a term.
See, Scott always, Scott and Pamela, Scott and Pamela are always dissing on vegans and vegetarians.
I don't know. I don't know that.
There's a lot of
They always
angry
are. They
vegans,
always
though.
are, and I'm always laughing because I'm like, come on, guys, you cannot sit there and defend. Of course, 'cause
Scott's from Alabama.
well, he's out
straight
bow
up
hunting,
bow
hunting.
hunter.
Yeah, exactly. I kill what I eat. I'm like, I bet
More
not all the
fish
time.
in my diet is what I
You
do.
can't,
I've
though.
tried to add
There's
more
no
fish,
good fish
in the
anymore.
diet.
Hardly any good fish.
Whatever.
It sucks.
It has a lot of
Mercury is the problem.
Hiroshima.
It's got a lot of Fukushima in it.
Yeah.
Is what it's
Yeah,
got.
it is.
A whole lot of Fukushima in my fish.
serious.
We got to watch out with the bigger fish. Can't be, and that's the shitty part is that we're all so. What's that?
I don't know.
I'm getting technical direction.
I think we start. This is starting to come to a close, possibly. Here.
Yeah, it is. We're on the final stretch. Final stretch. Keep your 10 minutes. Come on, keep your shit together, dude. Don't
10
fall
minutes.
apart. Yeah. Don't fall apart.
Oh, you're trying to hit the 3 hour mark because you
We
started
do.
40
we
minutes
always
late.
do. We always do 3 hours.
All right, I got you.
We're,
I got
we're
you.
dedicated like that. It's a 3 hour tour every time.
No, I get it.
3
Been a
hour
broadcaster.
tour. Yeah, I know.
I understand.
I know what you know what 3 hours means.
Yeah.
I hope. I mean,
No.
like 3 hours.
I mean-
what's that? That doesn't make sense.
Then we get into talking about how the scheduling.
Oh, so let's talk about your thing.
hitting
What's going
post
on? The reason why
3
he's
hours.
here is because what's this? Ganja Sana.
Yeah, we have. I have a friend. You know, I don't know if I could to say something about this wonderful place we're
Yes.
broadcasting from.
Do it.
You know, we're
Do
here at 111 Broadway, 1111, right through the gateway,
The Metlo.
the Metlo.
Metlo.
You know, so yeah, I do a weekly party, a reggae party on the rooftop every Sunday at 4:20 to 7:10. You could look into the times, you know, for your own benefit.
And then there's a little comedy.
Comedy Max, you
Yeah,
know,
right
comes
after
right
that.
after. So it's really a wonderful way to celebrate Sundays.
I think I was going to go to the one maybe a week before this, but it snowed like a mother truck.
Yeah, but we'll have it heated. It's supposed to be nice on Sunday, so
I don't even think I could get here. That was Sunday, though. That was the thing. I would have come if you could get here, but there's no traveling.
True.
That's what people don't understand about the Metlo roof, too, is that it's not like a shoddy tent. It's an enclosed, nice tent.
No, it's a proper place.
And it's nice.
proper.
It's nice.
Oh, it's toasty. We had our T-shirts on. I started sweating. We were dancing. It felt like we were in Jamaica. You know, it was nice. You know?
Bwah, bwah.
Yeah, exactly. Got some ganja chai up there. It's a good time.
Yeah.
You know, and I do have a good friend.
And you have to RSVP. What's the deal?
Oh yeah, exactly. You have to RSVP. You know, just look us up. You know, reggae party at the Metlo, and this RSVP because it's a private event. You know,
We got to get these things going again, these get-togethers going
Well,
again.
yeah.
And that's what
Here
we're
we are
trying to do
trying.
now.
First
Here we are
Fridays
trying.
come. When's that?
Every first
every
Friday.
every first Friday.
I
we
love
got
when people
here.
ask me what
Yeah.
day it is. I'm like, it's
Yeah.
first Friday, bro.
When,
Like,
which Friday?
like even 420, I had that the other day. I was telling somebody, yeah, so 420 we're doing this, and then they're like, so what date is that? You know, and it's like, it's 420. That's the day. Like that is the date we've been talking about the whole time while we're talking.
Yeah, and you know, I have a friend that came with me today. You know, we're talking about
Sure.
offering some private yoga classes
Oh,
up on
there
the
we go.
rooftop.
Pump
There's-
the
yeah,
yoga check.
yoga.
Pump the
Yeah.
yoga class.
Yoga.
So we got
Just spin the mic over to her
Yeah,
because
we-
nobody wants to talk to you anyway.
yeah, exactly.
There
I'm
you
good.
go.
Signing out. Let me hand it over to the fairer one.
Yeah, cool. So, and so you guys are starting this week already, or is
Soon
it?
come.
Oh, soon come.
Yeah, we
Of
have it
course. So
this-
it's a.
very soon.
It's very official now.
This is Rachel from GanjaAsana.com.
Nice.
Yes, thank you. Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So tell us about your style. What style of yoga are you doing? First of all, let's get it crazy. Let's get technical.
We are really using yoga to help build relationships with the cannabis plant. And so seeing the cannabis as this sentient being and as a plant in which we can alter our consciousness for health and well-being to really tune in rather than tap out. And so we're using the practices of yoga and meditation and mindfulness to deepen that connection to the plants.
Yoga on the rooftop.
Yes.
I like that idea, though. That's
How you like it? Fire yoga.
Fire yoga.
I always like the idea of yoga.
Of course you do.
I do.
Of course you do. Not from
Yo
a,
giggity.
Not from a
Yo
participation. Not from a participation point of view. I'm sure.
From a
It's like,
audience point of view.
I approve of girls in yoga pants on the rooftop.
It is
More popular than
it is 100% the uniform of Colorado. But I have friends that are starting to do this more and more. Even dudes that are, as they're getting older, you know.
Hey, it's really good if you have like
Helps.
when you have like you don't realize you got back issues or something like that, and then all of
Yeah.
a sudden you do that, and you're like, because my wife always forces me. I'm I have to get forced. And then it's like, all right, I'm in pain. She'll be like, all right, get the mats out. And then all of a sudden I'm doing my
Yes.
4 poses that I have to do. And then I'm like, it does feel better. But it doesn't mean I go back and do them again because I'm terrible. I'm the worst. But
Stephen
when
Chang went to hot yoga last
But
week.
I had a herniated disc, like almost, like it was at the edge. It was so close. I was like, I was paralyzed-ish for a little while, and
Yeah,
I was all
that's
messed
horrible.
up, and I fell down, and it was like all weird. And she like kind of pulled it back out, and then made me do a bunch of yoga things. And then by the next day, at first I thought, I'm done, dude. I'm done for 6 months. I'm like out. And then all of a sudden, by the next day, I could move a little bit, and then move a little bit more, and then all of a sudden I was like,
giggity.
yep, that actually worked.
Yeah, man.
She got me to
yoga-
do it for 3 days in a row that time, because I was almost dead. But besides that, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm dying.
Plus,
Show me what you
plus
do.
Joe Rogan here was talking about it recently. I hate to bring up Joe Rogan, but
Yeah, you tried.
even though I'm a fan of him, he's just too popular, bastard. Anyway, he did this this sober October thing, and in it they did like, I think he did like 15 hot yoga classes or whatever, but then jam packed a lot of them in like a 1 week period. And if he's telling me something is exercise and does well and is hard for him to do and makes progress for him, that's I can think the misconception of yoga is that it doesn't do a whole lot. You're just sitting there stretching or whatever. But once you actually get into it, you do hot yoga, you do something. I mean,
there's real.
some of
there-
you people are just
the thing
crazy
about-
with it.
The thing about it is there's a lot of growth
In a good way.
involved. So if you can go like a couple, like that's where I'm obviously not growing very quick. But in jet,
Well,
I
and-
can see people change their shit real quick when they
In
do.
practicing yoga too, it's that practice of your daily ritual, and so it's almost preventative for future injuries. And people in the cannabis industry, if you're growing too, it helps you
Start your day with meditation.
stay limber and keeps your head straight and on the right path.
Well, everybody's-
Working your brain as much as your body.
Well, everybody's so absorbed in their own little things now that it's like now finally they're like kind of coming out with like, hey, we have these credible studies and we figured out that if you just give yourself like 15 minutes of meditation a day, it's like, no shit, Sherlock. You know what I mean? It's like,
Nothing
of course,
more. Yeah,
of
nothing
course
more.
everybody does. But the problem is that we're all so like, all right, you wake up, you're like, all right, what did fucking Trump say this morning? Like, you're starting your day off all fucked right out of the gate because we're so absorbed in like I'm guilty and a lot of people are. You go to bed, like, with so much going on, and then you don't give yourself that time, and then you wake up and you go straight into it, and it can be like crazy when you don't think about it, and then all of a sudden when other people spend just even a little bit more time with themselves, it's like you don't realize how much you're getting out of it, but you do.
Yoga really means the union or the yoke, and to be the charioteer of your mind, to like slow things down. And really yoga and the asanas that people do, the stretches, the poses, that really is to prepare people for meditation, to get a still mind and get into the source and just like, rest at them done for a little bit, and then you'll even come forward stronger, but yeah, I mean, Rachel, has a unique story, and, with cannabis, it's, and yoga, it's been the healing for her, and, she brings that sacredness, because you've studied down in South America with plant medicine and stuff.
Nice.
And so she kind of integrates with, I used to own a yoga center in Asheville, North Carolina. It was well popular. Everyone we had this big venue next door. So Michael Franti used to come and do yoga, and Mickey Hart used to pass through and get massages. And it just became kind of like a cool venue. New York Times wrote about it, and different things like that. Yeah, thanks, brother. And, so I have experience within running a popular yoga. And now Denver is like the biggest yoga populated class-wise in the country. And, of course, we know cannabis is so popular. So I'm like, it's time to merge ganja and yoga. And I met Rachel, and we do these ganja yoga ceremonies where I do live reggae music and some Indian music, and she does her plant ceremony and yoga classes, and it's taking off like wildfire. So here at the Metlo, we're about to launch this fire thing and integrate the yoga and the herb, and just deeper, like, I mean, we all love, it's beautiful to look good in yoga pants, and feel and all that.
That's all he's thinking right now.
I know, I
That's
can
all he's
see, I can
thinking.
see.
It's all right
With
into your
meditation, I
head.
can
You
really-
saw it through your hat. You're like,
And that's fine, but
I'm partly being a smart ass and using that.
yeah, but when you blaze and get really, the yoga pants even look better when you get, No, hey, no,
better?
but, excuse me, but we're just combining these two things that are very popular right now and good for people to make people feel positive. We just want to bring positivity into the community and make
dope.
people, all
That's
that
awesome.
stuff,
I gotta get myself a pair of yoga pants. I mean, wearing my
Please
own
don't.
in my own room, in my own place. It's comfortable.
But you gotta be comfortable for class.
Shut the fuck.
All right, so I will
Yoga
show up
pants.
to the class.
Yes.
The mellow on the roof.
Yeah, in your
Yoga pants.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
We're prepared, ready to get my mind
I'm
right and
ready.
centered.
Then I'm coming.
It's gonna fuck everybody else's couch up. You're gonna
Yeah. You'd be like, really?
walk in and be like, "Oh
And
my
you know,
god."
it's a lot about education too, about the plant, how to work with the plant, understanding how it's cultivated. We do meditation with the vermicompost, with the worms. You can hold the fan leaves, you can hold the flowers, and really get to know the plant on this intimate level. All the herb we use is cultivated in no-till living soil,
Nice.
and we really, try to have the highest standard of working with a safe, clean plant medicine, and then educating the consumer on how to cultivate medicine that way, and then how to work with it in your yoga practice.
Nice. We've had Dragonfly Earth Medicine on the show.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
our crowd is definitely familiar, which is good. So that's like, and the reality is, the last two we do the sort of competition, and without any like very loose, no guidelines as far as what you can grow it in or whatever, but just out of people who actually the people who entered, testing each other's weed, because it was all inside. There was no like a third party in that sense. It was like the people who actually entered got to test their other people's weed, and every time it was a top was organic. And it was like,
Yeah,
okay,
can't beat Mother Nature.
And so
She
it's like,
knows how to
oh,
grow it the best with her soil food web. So.
And that was the flavor and just the flavor vibe and all that. So it was kind of one of those deals where it was like, oh, look, proof is in the pudding. There you go. And this is with the people who actually, some of the stuff looked better maybe or looked whatever, but it's like at the end of the day, it's like that's what you taste and you felt and you worked.
Just like vegetables and fruit, when they're commercialized, they might be the shiniest, biggest apple you've ever seen, but when you taste it, it doesn't have like the real taste, like a piece of organic fruit, organic herb.
So,
organic,
we're at the 3 hour mark, so we're gonna close it down. But you guys plan on doing that before, like on Sundays before the other stuff, and then do it earlier? Or something
Well,
like that?
we haven't solidified everything. Just stay in touch with the Metlo and follow us. And
Yeah.
check out Ganja Asana.
That's a full.
and-
Now you got a full Sunday. In
Yeah,
fact. You gotta
exactly.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a
start
full
off-
Sunday, but
Yeah.
really, I think there's the potentiality, and we want to do it every day. Like a 7:10 in the morning, a high noon, a 4:20 in the afternoon.
Jesus Christ.
I think
We're
this
going to be bubbling.
dope to
Ganja
see this
yoga.
place.
Ganja, we're gonna be-
24/7.
Yeah.
We want the,
Yeah.
Metlo
Alright.
is such an amazing. I mean, Adam, you know this. This is an amazing venue here in Denver. We have such a wonderful access to the rooftop and the view of the city and the mountains and
Exactly. The word needs to get out about the parties.
exactly. We have like
I'm
the
saying.
best parties and we're
The
free-
chat room. You guys gotta help do that.
You
Like
have to
the
move-
word of mouth.
You have to move here.
Yeah,
Like
there's
back
a
in the day
movement.
when we had just like nobody was talking about how there were like sessions and how it was like social use. It was just word of mouth. People just showed up, congregate. They were just drawn to this place. We don't have that anymore anywhere in Denver. There's not a single spot that people go to. There's a few sideways places, B, C. Type spots, but there needs to be a premier spot.
It's Zen here, right? I mean, it's
We're
sharp.
trying to build it,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
And on that note, thank you very much, Tim Martin.
Awesome. Make sure everybody, if you get a chance, I do have JDR from this last Friday that I did. Straight
in
news.
JDR,
It's an
right?
hour news, catches you. JohnDoeRad.io, JohnDoeRad.io, and you can also subscribe on iTunes and Google Play. And here we're going to adding in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to add a grow segment. We're going to talk with some people from Oregon. Try and talk with Andrew, which I mentioned this a long time ago to him too. Andrew B. Talk with him, Living Soil, etc. The Geek Farms guys, really stoked with those guys. I might add some video game stuff into the mix on Twitch too,
right.
and try and
Your
get.
time's up. I gotta fucking-
Hold on.
I'm pulling.
Try and move everything to Twitch and work with maybe Adam on some stuff and do some interviews maybe with him too. So.
Oh, yeah, you had to throw that in at the end.
Well, I know
Just to
that's
save your ass.
No, that's not to save my ass.
It's all right.
We've been talking for.
I will come back on your show.
We've been talking since 2009 probably about
bro.
doing
And now we're
a
finally
radio
gonna do it.
station.
Finally doing it.
No, we're not.
Out of your bedroom.
Doing a radio station with multiple shows, having programming, 12 to 24 hours a day, and we keep talking about it. Let's
right.
do it. We need a
Word,
spot.
power, sound.
Anyway, go to johndoerad.io.
Jesus Christ, that was
Fark your couch. You invited me in here.
All right.
I'm out of here. Goodbye.
I want
Thanks,
to
guys.
thank Kelly from Left Hand Hemp hanging in here. Look, he stayed the whole show. He was ready to leave earlier, and he said, "Fuck it."
Yeah, I was getting thrown out by the time. I forgot.
Do you wait?
It's late.
I'm gonna ask
That's
you a personal question here. Do you smoke at all? Or is that not? See, I'm not saying he's gonna go.
I'm
He,
not
where,
gonna answer that 'cause
wherever
I do
he
other
goes,
things that-
Yeah, he has to work.
wherever
in the
he
industry.
goes,
he's staying
right now
smart.
after
He's not
this
like
is what
us.
I'm saying.
We're
though,
out.
is he's
We're
gonna
done.
smell like weed. Like when you walk out of here, it's
Oh, he'll be fine.
He got contact.
clam baked.
He'll be
Clam baked.
fine.
Everybody wants to get out of here. Thank you guys. Thank you, chat.
Big up Adam Dunn.
Thank
Big up
you,
Hood
Ross,
Lab.
Ross Book coming. Poop. And then thank you MTI and thank you KTI and thank you Josh in the background hiding there, making all now. Did you notice we have tickers at the bottom now with all the names sliding across? Looks all pro and shit. This is the first time we ever got that rolling. So awesome. I forgot your name too.
Rachel.
Thank
Rachel
you,
with Ganjasana. Yeah,
Oh,
thank
yeah.
you.
Thank
And
you.
if anyone wants to check, we have a ceremony this Sunday in Boulder at
Oh.
Earth Yoga Boulder. So
Okay, cool. And then they
Yeah.
can check that where? Where was that?
ganjasana.com.
There you go. That was
Thank
it.
you.
All right. Cool. And we'll see you guys all next week. Thanks
One
for
love.
tuning in. Thank you. Big shout out to my beautiful wife, Cece, and little Nick, who just did his first jiu-jitsu class yesterday and today. So he's gonna,
Wait, he started
Yes.
jujitsu?
yeah, he did a chokehold on
Maybe
me
I
last
need to
night,
start.
So I was like,
I
well,
need to
I
learn
want to
that.
start jujitsu. Maybe I need to start with Nick.
go to the you can go to the same you can go to the same place, and then right after him is
No, with
is a bunch of young
his class.
Yeah, you need to.
That's
go.
my level.
Yeah, you're like, all right, kids, I'm gonna kick some
For real, dude.
ass. They have one kid there that looks a lot like Sheldon's little kid. Remember that? And then he's like a little tank. That kid he'll crush you. He's like 13. He'll destroy you. You'll be done.
That's always been my fear.
yeah. It'd be like
Some kid's gonna crush me if I start.
exactly. Anyway, yep. So he's on his second course today. So maybe by the time he gets home, he'll be in an arm bar. I'll be in an arm bar and a chokehold. So, yep. Thank you guys. Peace.
Thank you.
See you next week.
Practically every one of the top 40 records being played on every radio station in the United States is a communication to the children to take a trip, to cop out, to groove. The psychedelic jackets on the record albums have their own hidden
This
symbols
is
and
a
messages.
special question. We don't want you to smoke genetically modified ganja. We want you to smoke the real thing. We want you to smoke the natural herb. Some call it marijuana, some call it sensimedia, some call it lamb's bread, and some people call it